Welcome back to Le Mans Live. We're just tracking around the 77 car, the Filmwire Porsche, which at the moment is running fourth in class in GT2. Got a couple of GT1 cars ahead of it as well at the moment. In fact, it's just taking steps forward as we speak. Thanks to all of you who have dropped in on the forum, www.eurosport.co.uk. Click on the message boards and scroll down to Motorsports. If you click Le Mans, the topic area or the thread is new, exclamation mark, at Eurosport 2010 Le Mans Live. And delighted to have your company, both in Europe and throughout the world, Mark Cole.
Yeah, we just had a message in from Adrian Wayan, in fact, who said, great to be with you guys. I'm listening from a tiny little island, Singapore.
Yeah, we give him a little wave. I think we did it a little bit earlier as well, but while our Eurosport Europe viewers were on a break, I can't speak for the Pacific Asia Rim where some of these pictures are going out, but it's a credit to them that these boys and girls are up in the wee small hours. Of course, we hope that you'll stay with us right the way throughout this wonderful event at the moment. Looking quick here, Stuart.
Yeah, that's always going to be a quick car. There's a very, very, very strong driver lineup in that car. Mark Lieb, Richard Lietz and Wolf Hensler. That's going to be the Porsche to beat, I would say, in this year's Le Mans. They're currently chasing down the two Corvettes at the moment, and it's shaping up very interestingly.
Yeah, indeed, we've got Patrick Long as well in GT2, and he's way out in front. He's embedded at the moment within the LMP2 class. Liz Halliday was talking a little bit earlier on and saying that if the rain comes, some of those GT classes may well start to invade the prototypes because they've got such fantastic braking out there when it is needed. Just looking at the Corvettes here as well, they're in something of a happy place, although running 2 and 3 in class in GT2, not having things all their own way in GT1. In fact, it's all about the Ford GTs right now, who are bullying everyone with Mutch and Linders as class lead, and to get you up to speed with LMP2 as well. Johnny Kane is heading David Brabham at the moment. It's an HBD 1 and 2 just for now.
Just to go back to GT2 for a moment, Pat Long has been leading that class. He got caught, the two Corvettes got held up in the safety cube, then made that double stop, of course. So Pat Long took the lead over. He's just pitted though, so I think by the end of this lap you'll find the Corvettes are back in 1 and 2. Just some news there. Looking at Labra Celine, that still has problems apparently, and everyone else looks good, don't they?
They certainly do. We're talking been a lot of talk as well about the speed of the course here. There has been some amendments to the surface, to the Porsche curves, and changes through the Ford chicane as well. And it may well have just come back to the vehicles in terms of speed. Peugeot are really mastering it in the 908s, but their time on pole of 319.711, they're not that far off it right now. We're circulating here in the early 320. 323.64 was the last lap for Pedro Lamy. So they're getting close to their qualification speed mark, but it's not exactly near the 3 minutes and 30 that they were talking about as a target here.
And we've just noticed that Frank Montagny, I believe, has just taken the lead from Pedro Lamy. It looked to me that the Pedro Lamy just lifted in a straight line and let Montagny pass. He obviously has the pace over him at the moment, and Peugeot have insisted on a few team orders, which is unlike them this early on in the race.
Yeah, we saw Oliver Connell there just watching the screen, so I'm sure he was involved in that. Sorry, Carlton, just to answer your previous question, yeah, the pace up there is great. Car 28, that is in the gravel bed, the one we're just looking at there as we went past, that is down at post 11. It's probably post 61, which is one of the chicanes. So, race now, 22 hours and a half still to go, and still like a sprint race this, isn't it?
Well, you say that, but it's almost a formation race here for Peugeot. Just 1, 2 and 3. They're just getting themselves comfortably into order. And there is the Radical SR9 Judd. Radical, nice to see that they've been here. But the race performance outfit here, it's Pierre Brunen, Mark Rostan and Ralph McKittrick here. But really the party is all about Peugeot at the moment, and as they go by, sail by the Spiker, how heartbreaking must that be? I know it is again and again, but the Spiker's had a really, really tough time today. It's not only being bullied by the LMP cars, but by its cars within its own class as well. This is an impressive start by Peugeot here, and there, as if to underline it, are the numbers. They're 1, 2 and 3, numbers 3, 2 and 1. Yes, a terrific symmetry from Peugeot at the moment. Just wondering how long this could last before they really start getting into each other. They've started to make some changes out front. I suspect they might be telling them just to keep it a little bit sensible and calm yourselves, boys. We'll try and do the same. We'll take ourselves a short commercial break. For viewers on Eurosport 2, you're very welcome. I think we forgot to welcome you. Back in a moment.
Le Mans, our coverage of the Le Mans 24 hours here live on Eurosport. We are 1.5 hours into the race. It is Peugeot 1, 2, 3 and 4. The old order now restored as it was earlier in the race before a long interruption with safety cars due to an accident to Nigel Mansell. Nigel, we're told, is not seriously hurt, but he was taken to the Circuit Medical Centre for attention to details. And again, this is the second time in this race we've seen Faye Ayari involved in an accident. It's one of the Oak cars, Oak Pescarolas earlier, and this time a collision with one of the Aston Martins. And Stuart Hall, this is always such a problem here. Turned into Johnny Molan.
Yes, look at that. I morphed for you. Did you see that? Hey? I tell you what, you're already tired, aren't you, Mark?
Oh, I know.
No, you're right. That's the second time we've seen Faye Ayari there, and he actually didn't even see. I think that was the 07 car. Was it the 007 car, Stefan Mucker?
Yes, it was. It was.
And he didn't even see him. You saw almost you could read the shocked look on his face, even though obviously he had a coloured visor on. When he actually touched there, he just wasn't looking in his mirrors. So he's having a few incidents, but so far he's got away with it.
We've only got 12 cars, incidentally, 12 or 13 cars on the lead lap at the moment. After a huge mix-up, in fact, I think it's our timing screens might be getting mixed up as well. I know that some of you have got some graphical issues out there as well, with very, very small graphics, and we're straining our eyes as we speak as well, trying to keep a handle on it for you. You've got some news on Nigel.
Well, actually, I just heard from Martin Havens out the back there that apparently, potentially, and I don't want to be a scaremonger at all, but might be potentially a little bit more serious leg injury than we first thought. But I'm hoping that is wrong. Having said that, you know, with Nigel, even though he's not as young as he used to be, I mean, that man is as brave as they come, and also has had some serious accidents in his time, mostly, admittedly, in Indy cars and hitting concrete walls at 230 miles an hour plus. So you have to say that they wouldn't have had to carry him out of the car, you would think, unless he had at that point some sort of serious pain in his legs. So I'm really, really hoping that that's not true and everything's going to be fine. And I'm sure it will be, and those cars are very safe. So at worst, maybe just a knock in terms of he's really knocked his legs hard, and sometimes that can bruise them, maybe even bruise the bone slightly, and it actually feels worse than it actually is initially.
Well, let's hope that's the case. It was our guess that he had a leg problem. From the way he was actually extricated from the car,
yeah.
We're just hoping that it wasn't anything more serious in the upper torso and beyond area. Thankfully, downstairs is kind of fixable normally.
Yeah, absolutely. And the way they lifted him out of the car, you would say if they were worried that there was any spine issues, then one, they wouldn't have tried to lift him out of that car. And Nigel, being very experienced in having back injuries, wouldn't have let them lift him out of the car. So I'm sure that it'll all work out, and I hope so. And I feel sorry for him, and I feel sorry for the Zytek, and I feel very, very sorry for Greg and Leo, because obviously they're here with their dad. It was going very, very well. As we mentioned before, he just set the fastest time of that car of the whole weekend, and for them to not even get a chance to get in the car, obviously at this point in time they won't care about that. They just want their dad to be okay. But for them ultimately to not be able to get into the car after all the hard work that the Beech Dean team and Zytek and themselves have put to get here, it's heartbreaking. And you've got a few cars like that. You've got the Autocon car, didn't even make a lap, had a gearbox issue, and obviously you mentioned earlier the Jaguar, I believe, did 4 laps. 4 laps of a 24-hour Le Mans race, to come all this way and then have that happen is soul destroying.
And just while we're looking at these pictures, interesting seeing an LMP2 car running just in front of the Corvettes and not getting away that quickly. This is of course one of the major changes to regulations next year, that the LMP2 cars will need to use GT2 based production engines.
Well, I can tell you one thing as a GT driver, there is nothing, and I don't mean to sort of be insulting in any way, but obviously the whole joy and history of Le Mans is you have a mix of professional and amateur drivers. Some amateur drivers are incredibly good. Some amateur drivers are slightly less experienced and less quick. And it is nothing more frustrating than being in a GT car and being held up through the corners by a car that you know can lap significantly quicker, but is slightly quicker than you on the straights. And it can totally ruin your stint. You can get stuck behind. It's happened to me. You can get stuck for an hour behind a slow, badly driven LMP2 car and lose 2, 3, 4 seconds a lap and not be able to get past because of they're quick on the straights, and if you do get them under braking, they then pass you on the ensuing straight down to the next corner. So it's not unusual to see that here at Le Mans.
It's interesting as well, just keeping a track on some of the lap times that are going around here. Timo Bernard in the Audi number 9 car is actually going quite quickly here, but he's still giving away half a second a lap to the slowest of the Peugeots, and that's not good news at all for them. I know that they've been hoping for some rain, and certainly at the beginning it looked like they dialed in just something a little bit special, especially on Element Nish's car. He was really pushing very, very hard indeed. Had to, I'm not sure, back off really for the sake of the fact that it's a 24-hour event and not a sprint, and once he couldn't get by, he just had to ease off ever so slightly, but he's still quick out there, but just not quite as quick as the Peugeot, sadly.
Second stop for Tommy Erdos then. That car was in earlier to have the steering wheel change after dashboard electronic problems. Tommy has fought his way back up from 8th in class to 4th in class.
Yeah, doing very well.
Another quick stop there. I hope that was routine rather than...
It looked pretty routine, didn't it, Mark? And I think that car, we've been talking about the two Acuras, obviously the Highcroft Acura and the Stracker Acura, as probably the cars in terms of pace that are pacing that LMP2 class. But that RML car, with the drivers they've got, with Mike Newton, Tommy Erdos and obviously Warren Hughes, they're definitely in a genuine shot for an LMP2 podium at the end of this race. They know how to do this race, and if they can keep it reasonably clean, they can finish on the podium.
Yeah, hopefully that's the worst problem they'll have had. Carlton, your favourite car?
Yes, one of them. Beautiful to many eyes. I'm just thinking it's starting to look just ever so slightly dated these days, but certainly effective, that's for sure.
Did you see Alan McNish, sorry to interrupt Carlton there, absolutely slide that Audi through the final chicane onto the straight there? I mean, he is pressing on, he's working the traffic. You can just see the body language of that car. He is pushing.
And as you said it, we just got a time for him. We were saying he was not the quickest of the Audis just for that time being. He is actually the quickest man on track at the moment.
I believe that might be his fastest lap, isn't it, Carlton?
Yep, it is.
Yeah,
he's
24.1.
A 24.116 out there. He's
quickest car on the track on that lap.
Yep, absolutely. He's in the middle of what is a big push here. They've got a lot to do. They were trapped behind. Alan Manish, in fact, was the most vocal of all of them. When the safety cars came out, 3 of them came on, of course, to neutralise the entire field during Nigel Mansell's extrication from his crashed vehicle. And yes, they weren't happy at all, I'm afraid, but they're still on lap 22 here. Yes, I'm just going to prove it's easily lost on this circuit here, Johnny.
Yes, you can see that going into the first chicane. It's quite bumpy there. You come off the road and there's lots of ruts. I can't describe it to people that haven't driven here before. When you first go out on the Le Mans track and you go down the straight, because of the sort of ruts in the public road that are created by the trucks and the lorries, the car dances around in a straight line all over the place, and then you're coming off of those sort of rails into the chicane that's only used during the actual Le Mans 24 hours, and it's a different asphalt surface. It's very dirty, it's a little bit of gravel, it picks up a lot of dirt very easily there. It's very easy to come off that with the car unbalanced in the rear, and as you turn right and left, you almost create a Scandinavian rally flick. It's quite easy to lose the rear of the car, as you saw happening to that Porsche.
Well, a lot of the problems with the road, especially in the Porsche curves, are supposed to have been smoothed out here. For chicane as well, there's been changes there, which have actually added to the performance of some of these.
I think in those areas it has, and I think especially when it's wet weather, I think there's a lot of grip in those newly surfaced areas, and the Porsche curves in particular, they've generated a lot more grip than the actual public roads. But that area where we saw him spinning is actually the first chicane, so you're actually dealing with some pretty old asphalt at the actual chicane itself, and obviously dealing with the normal asphalt of the public road as you come off that road into the chicane area. Alan
McNish looking very, very comfortable here, Mark.
Yeah, great British driver, of course, one of our stars. Another of our star British drivers, Oliver Jarvis. He's just muscled the R10 Collis Audi up in between the Gulf Aston Martins. He's moved himself up into 8th place. Ollie Jarvis got the fastest rookie award from the Mayor of Le Mans last night. That was rather tempered by the fact his helmet, 2 driver suits, his hands and his boots all got stolen from the pits.
It's not the first time. Marco Werner waiting for us.
You are second at the moment. Everything is going quite well. The position is quite okay, but the speed is not there. So David reported us that he cannot following the Straka car. So on the straights we are a little bit slower. Maybe we do during the race adjustment with the wing or on the wing. And so on, we are without problem in the race. The position is quite okay, but we will see.
You were racing with Audi in LMP1. Is the change really big between?
It's a big change. So it's a complete different driving style. You lose all the time on the straight, so much slower with the LMP2 car on straights, but still late on braking, sometimes quicker in the corner, so higher corner speed. I have still to learn because I did only 7 laps in the practice during 2 days. In the warm-up it was wet. We were the fastest there, but that's not a race.
Are you still following your friends from Audi?
Yeah, sure. I'm looking what they are doing the race and watching the lap times and everything. And wish good luck to the guys.
Thank you so much.
Yes, good luck apparently makes up around about 50% of what you need to actually win here. Just getting a rather conflicting report from the medical centre saying that Nigel Mansell is reasonably okay. The team themselves saying they're not quite sure why the extrication of Nigel was so dramatic. So, well, conflicting reports. Maybe they know more than we do, but there you go. We heard he'd actually picked up some kind of serious leg injury, but we have...
I think we should stop speculating until we absolutely know.
I think absolutely. So I just thought I'd tell you that, because that's how foggy the situation is at the moment. Great dice going on here, Mark.
Yeah, we've got a great battle going here between McNish and Lapierre. He just passed Lapierre. Lapierre took him back again under braking for the second chicane, and just slightly ahead at the moment. So suddenly McNish has decided he's going to take the fight to Peugeot.
Well, it's interesting to look at because when we went green the last time, and I don't know if Mark, maybe you could find out how many laps ago that was that we've been green, but went back to green racing after Nigel Mansell's sort of dramatic accident. But they were 59 seconds behind. They're now 1:07, so they've only lost 8 seconds. So 8 seconds in however many laps that was. Yeah, so they're not as far off the pace perhaps as we thought.
We went green at 4 o'clock, so that was what 40 minutes ago. So I can tell you that much.
We've got Stéphane Sarrazin. Didn't get the pole this year, but he's clearly in the leading team at the moment. Here he is. So, how's it going today? Well, it's going very well, he says. It's great to see all the Peugeots functioning well. Alain McNish, incidentally, is now into 4th place, and let me just tell you. It's a long race, this, he says. So tell us about the safety car issue that you had earlier on. Well, in general, it's not something you want to happen out there, he says, but it's worked out very well for us, he says. So we just, the difficult thing, he says, is to find and continue your rhythm and just keep your focus out there. Didn't quite catch the question, sorry about that. Well, again, he's saying this is a very, very long race. You can't count your chickens, essentially. Oh, dearie me, and just looking at Timo Bernhard there, just going through traffic, trying to do what Alain McNish is doing. Now, this bodes very well for the race here, because Alain McNish is on an absolute charge. He's got past Lapierre in the 4 car, and he's currently in 4th place. Next target man is Marc Genet, and he's going very, very quickly here.
Yeah, and I think you're seeing actually the Audis, actually this race, perhaps as the track's rubbering in, coming to them slightly. I know that they're going to be triple stinting, potentially even quadruple stinting those Michelin tyres on the Audi, and you're now seeing obviously the car coming to the driver, because Timo Bernhard is obviously quicker than Lapierre in that Oreca Peugeot at this time, and it's just a case he's lacking a little bit in straight line speed, not a massive amount. McNish told me earlier it's only 3 or 4k now they're down to the Peugeots on the straight, so it's not just about straight line speed, the Peugeot advantage around here, but obviously makes it harder to pass the car in front when they're gaining a little bit on you on the straight.
Giving a lot of respect to the young Aston Martin drivers there as he picks his way through here, watching the 9 car, and he is desperate to get into Lapierre, who's clearly suffering just a little bit, not quite sure, but he had a huge shimmy as he laid the power down on the start-finish straight here, feeling the pressure. He's already lost a spot, Lapierre, to McNish, but Bernhard is all over the back of him as we sadly have to take a commercial break. Look at this. This is one heck of a battle shaping up here. It's what we need live here at Le Mans. We'll be back in a moment.
back here live to Le Mans on Eurosport. Pedro Lamy leading from Marc Genet and Franck Montagna. Peugeot 1, 2, 3 at the moment. Montagna just coming into the pits to make his second stop at the end of not exactly an hour and 50 minutes of racing, because 31 minutes of that was under the safety car. In comes the 7 car, Allan McNish on board.
Yeah, I mean, as you see Alan there, I mean, really working the pit lane entrance, and that's another thing to remember here. I mean, you can see there, they used to have the pit lane start here. Now, as you go across that white line, they've moved it back slightly, because that last sort of kink in, if you're coming in there quick, you can easily have an accident. It's so narrow, you could block the pit lane. So they've moved the beginning of the pit lane speed back earlier to make sure that that doesn't happen. As you see Alan now, he'll definitely, I would assume, stay in the car at this point. It might be tyres, it depends on what he's feeling for the car. It'll definitely, obviously, be fuel at this point. So fuel going in as we cut back to pictures of the Oreca Peugeot going through Dunlop. So they obviously regained at this point 3rd place.
And a little bit of composure, and decided not to come in. I really thought, Johnny, that this was going to be their moment to actually make a stop, but it hasn't happened. Allan McNish is in, and so is the 8 car of Marcel Fassler at the moment. So busy time for Audi downstairs. Peugeot, well, proving
they didn't take tyres.
Did they not?
No, and look, just getting clear as a number 8 Audi comes in, so they've timed that almost too perfectly. Alan back out on track now, and he did not take tyres.
Wow. So this double stinting, and maybe it will extend throughout all areas.
That's their only
and just
chance.
keep them on course.
That's their only chance, Carlton, to be honest. If they can quadruple the tyres, certainly they're going to triple. I mean, triple goes without saying. A Michelin tyre does a triple round Le Mans without too much problem at all. They're going to have to keep the tyres on as long as they possibly can in order to stand a chance to make up time on the Peugeots, who I think work their tyres a little bit harder potentially than the Audis do.
And bear in mind, of course, 31 minutes of the event was not under racing conditions.
Absolutely,
so
yes.
Maybe.
Although sometimes, to be fair, that actually hurts the tyres, because you're picking up, no matter how much you try and stay offline, or stay online rather, you're going to get pickup from being offline, or the pickup that comes onto the line, and also you're going slower through the corners, so the tyre doesn't clean itself as you're cornering. So sometimes you can get a lot of pickup on your tyres going slowly, and then it's difficult to get that back off again when you go back up to racing speed.
A lot of speculation before the race started that Peugeot were running a super soft tyre, because their settings and their aero package actually allowed them to get some life out of it. If they are running such a soft compound here, it may well be something they rue a little bit later on.
It could be, although I mean it is warm out there, but it's not as hot as it could be, and I suspect because the sun is a little bit sort of hazy, it's not really sun, so the track surface temperature, although the ambient might be reasonably warm, the track surface won't be as high as if it was sunny. So if they are running, as we see the other Peugeot coming in fact you've got 2 Peugeots, as you see the line astern there. I think going back to what you're saying about the softer tyres, they could probably get away with that if they're running slightly softer, because the track surface temperature won't be quite as high as it might be if it was sunny. And I'm sure Peugeot, they've done enough. And one thing you've got to remember with these teams, as you know, Carlton, is that Audi and Peugeot have done an enormous amount of 24-hour tests before they rock up. They don't just turn up at Le Mans 24-hour and hope that the car will last. They know, they've done wet weather simulation, they've done every compound simulation on tyres, and they've worked out exactly what works in what conditions.
Well, speculation as well, if they hadn't won it when they did for the first time, that they would have actually just packed up the programme, because they've been trying so hard to beat Audi. Since then, it's kind of been their game, and they now are the old boys essentially, because the R15 Plus, it's a new
They're
design.
The hares,
yeah, exactly.
They
really are. They're the chasers, and Allan McNish is doing a great job of doing just that right now.
And so Pedro Lamy rejoined, still the lead Peugeot, ahead of Genet Montagna, Allan McNish in 4th, and Nick Lapierre in 5th place as they go back onto the track. 26 laps now completed. Johnny, we've had about 30-minute hiatus with the safety car. How's this going to affect the distance record here at Le Mans this year?
Oh, crikey. I mean, you're talking to not the wrong mathematician for that. I have no idea. I mean, it does obviously, I'm sure that it was a long enough safety car period for it to potentially not be the fastest lap. And the lap times that the Peugeots are doing aren't that much quicker, given how much quicker they went in qualifying. They're not that much quicker race pace than I remember them doing last year. So it'd be interesting to see with that 31-minute safety car period whether they'll be able to be the fastest ever one on record.
Timo Bernard just getting onto his marks here.
He's done very well.
Yes, he has done
really
a tremendous job.
Driving beautifully.
Yeah, absolutely. Steady hands, and that's precisely what you want here. But he's also able to just pitch it up a notch when required, when more is required of him here.
And you see Alan now coming up, literally going past the pit out as we speak, as Timo Bernhard pulls back out onto the track. And it'll be interesting to see where the Oreca Peugeot pans into all of this, because obviously he hasn't pitted yet, so he's back in 4th position. As this pans out at the end of this lap, McNish will be back in front of Bernhard in the number 9 Audi, and they'll be in 5th and 6th respectively.
Not a pretty front end. It's doing a job at the moment, though, and they're getting back into this race, which is exactly what we were hoping for. The times, as you heard earlier, Alan McNish setting an absolute beauty. He was well down in the 324s. We've got a lot of slower times out there. Lapierre, the quickest man on course just for the time being. He's just posted 324, 435.
That's strange, isn't it, Carlton? Because Lapierre was doing for 2 or 3 laps, and he wasn't having, I could see, any real issues with traffic. He had Timo Bernhard behind him all over him, and he was doing 26s, and now all of a sudden got a bit of clear air and he's doing back in the 24s again. As you rightly say, he's the quickest car on track on that last lap. So I don't know if he had some issue within the car, maybe he was cycling through some different map settings or a TC problem or something like that, but he's certainly, as you see, McNish doing everything except, I have to say, except actually take to the hard shoulder there, again thinking about punctures all the way, but obviously cutting it very fine for that exact reason, back onto the straight down into the 2nd chicane.
Yeah, 3 wide as he went past the Porsche and one of the Fords there.
And then you've got Timo Bernhard, and that is it. You saw Alan there peeling into the 2nd chicane. Now you're with Timo Bernhard riding on board as he approaches the braking area for the 2nd chicane, which is a left-right chicane. So you can see that they're not actually that far apart, those 2 Audis.
Yeah, a couple of vets about to be eaten up. Classes 1 and 2 from the GT class. Incidentally, the 4 Corvette garages, all absolutely 1, 2, 3 and 4, and they're very well marshalled crew. When you see them actually coming in, you couldn't ask for more from that outfit. They're amazing to look at, almost like clockwork. Of course, they've got 50 years experience. Absolutely.
I mean, they're so talented. I mean, they have all the talent in the world, and they've now got the speed to go with it, and really this is theirs to lose. They just need to keep themselves calm, not get desperate, and that regardless of whether you feel you have a quicker car or not than Audi in Peugeot's case, to beat, as you see again, now we've got 2 Lola Aston Martins line astern, just passing the BMW there of so again the 008 car.
It's the 07 and the 09 actually.
I think it's the 07 and the 08 in terms. I know that they're not together on track, but it looked like it was. Oh no, you're right. I stand corrected. I see. This is why you do this professionally. So you're right. It is the 09 car. Darren Turner following Stefan Mucker there as they're coming up on traffic. And again, this car finishing, I believe, 5th. Was it 5th overall mark last year? The Lola Aston Martin did a fantastically good job, and obviously at the moment running 8th and 9th. So this early on in the game, they could be well set for a top 5 again. Yeah, and of course the last time we'll see these cars here at Le Mans, because Aston Martin already working very hard to produce their new prototype to meet the new regulations for next year. Yeah. Whether or not they'll remain in Gulf colours remains to be seen. We've seen David Richards several times over the weekend. He won't be drawn on that. Just let's have a quick look further down the screen. We haven't seen what's happening in P2 just lately, but Johnny Kane in the Straka car, the Silverstone run Straka HPD, continues to lead the class as he has done since the start. He has got 1 minute 16 over David Braddon now in the 2nd of the cars, the Highcroft car, and the Ginetta of Olivier Pla in 3rd in that. Just looking further down to GT1, Thomas Mooch for Ford still leading that category, and Ollie Gavin leading the Corvette brigade as he has done since the start of the race. Yeah, the Hank Cook Team Farmacher machine just moving over finally when he had a little bit of an opportunity to do so, to let the Astons get back at each other. Aston Martin, incidentally, they're going to be taking it all in-house, so it may not be a Lola Aston Martin in the future. We will wait and see. It's a huge budget nonetheless, and they will, if they do leave Lola behind, have learnt an awful lot from their outfit. Absolutely, and obviously Lola have given them a great car to work with. I think there are obviously certain issues when you're putting a different engine perhaps to a Lola chassis is designed to take a whole different variety of engines, and so sometimes you can have situations when you're putting a different type of engine into it where you're compromised in terms of aero, in terms of weight distribution. So obviously that's something that when they build their own car and their own chassis in-house will make it easier for Aston Martin to really make that car good.
First question, how's your dad doing?
He's okay, he's just having some extra checks just to be safe. He took a bit of a knock, but he should be fine.
Okay, so nothing broken or nothing bad, because we saw him being carried out of the car.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it at the moment. Like we said, with the adrenaline, it's better to be safe than sorry. We're checking everything we can, but he's fine.
What happened? Do you know details already?
We don't know yet. We got to wait to get the car back, download it, and have a look at the data. At the moment, it looks like something happened on the rear going down the straight, but like I said, we don't know what it was yet.
Do you know already what this means for the Beached-in Mansell Motorsport project?
It means me and Leo are going to have a lot more energy tonight than we were. We don't know. We'll wait and see. I mean, we'd like to fight another day. The main thing is he's okay, and we'll regroup later on and see what we're going to do from there.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Cheers.
Well, that's good news. I presume he's actually been in touch. So
I'm surprised they don't know if it was a tyre puncture. I'm surprised they don't know, because they do have real-time telemetry and tyre pressure sensors, so they would have seen the immediate drop in pressure just before he went off. Or perhaps they're not sure if when they couldn't actually combine the pictures and seeing the data, maybe they feel that might be when he actually hit the barrier, got deflation.
Cause and effect.
Yes, exactly.
Well, we'll see, but at least for the time being, good news. I think that the clouds have started to clear on that one, thank heaven. We've just seen come across the line, by the way, Nick Lapierre in the number 4 car, and he's absolutely on a charge. He's maintaining some very, very good speeds out there. Don't know how the car has come to him, what changes he's made, though it is a possibility to do that. It's not just about the pressure he was under from the cars behind. He's more experienced than that. He was certainly a little bit ragged, but it's much more stable now.
I think maybe I've got the answer to it. I think perhaps we timed a little bit on the pit stops there, because I think obviously when Alan was passing him, he was running a lot lower on fuel. Right. Because I think what had happened is Lapierre already pitted, so he would have been higher on fuel, and that would have explained why McNish and then Timo Bernhard, as we see the BMW, what a shame for that. I must admit, I love that car. I don't know what you think, Mark.
Yeah, it's you're not going to hate it. I love it. It looks like an explosion in a paint factory, and that to me is everything about racing.
That looks like Dirk Muller's helmet as well, I think.
He's having a very, very good luck here. He's not hurt, by the way. He's just checking something out.
He's pulled off, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's gone straight. He's definitely like a diff or something underneath the car, gearbox or something like that. Or maybe even an engine issue. But the way it wobbled there, it looked like it might be a diff issue.
It's a Jeff Kuntz designed car, incidentally. It's supposed to look like the dying embers of fireworks in the sky.
I'm surprised at that, because BMW, especially in America, have been racing very well and very reliably over 12 hours of Sebring, 6 hours of Laguna, which was the last race where I was competing in, and they ran very strongly there. So I'm surprised that only a few hours in, less than 2 hours in, that they've had a problem.
Now, this is very interesting, because of course they've been running this car in the VLN series in a very similar form, including a Nürburgring 24, and they've been doing destruction testing, particularly with drive shafts. The second VLN race this year, they ran the car of old drive shafts, see how long it'd last. Andy Prieur was at the wheel, lasted exactly 1 hour before a used drive shaft broke. And this is the whole idea of this, was getting ready for Le Mans, to try and get these parts lifed. So if it is a drive shaft or diff, as you suggest, that is very surprising.
I know a lot of people are complaining that it's a bit like bringing touring cars to the big party here. I think those complaints can kind of be put together. It's just great to have BMW back after 11 years, to be honest.
I mean, I disagree with that. At the end of the day, BMW run a fantastic motorsport program, not just in sports cars, but in a whole variety of things. I mean, they may not be in Formula 1 anymore, but as manufacturers, they're incredibly supportive of motorsport. So I think for them to be a part of Le Mans 24 Hours is only right and just.
Yeah, it's great to see them back. A serious puncture as well. He's got to bring this back, nurse it back. He does not want that to disintegrate, because it'll start beating up that rather beautiful bodywork. And I'm not sure how many replacement panels they've got. They're probably worth an absolute fortune, especially if they've been signed by the artist. So good to see them back after 11 years. I seem to remember the last time that they won in '99, they also had a sort of questionable vehicle with pinstripes. A lot of people were actually thinking, is that nice or is that nasty? Not really too sure, to be honest. Make your own minds up. Go and Google it and have a look. Press images. You'll see what we mean. We'll be back in a moment.
Le Mans drama all around the circuit. We may be in for a safety car. Not for this. This is BMW's art car crawling back to the pits. Dirk Muller got out to investigate what was up with the car. Left rear puncture is the answer. Coincidentally, just at the same time, onboard pictures showing us Jörg Muller getting his fillings shaken out by the other BMW. So either they both picked up a puncture, or the other car has got a different problem. Did perhaps suspect it might be double rear end failure. Hello everybody, welcome back to Eurosport's live coverage at Le Mans. Martin Haven with Jeremy Shaw and Stuart Hall here. And Stuart, a long, slow creep back for that car, but much bigger fish to fry. Massive accident down at the S's. The Mark VDS Racing Ford has gone off very heavily indeed into the barriers.
Yes, Martin, it appears so. We've only had a quick shot, but it appears Baz Linders has gone off on the right-hander of the S's just after the Dunlop Bridge. There's a nasty bump there, so that may have caught him out, or there may have been something else go wrong with the car. We don't know yet. We haven't had any other pictures.
Well, Jeremy, we saw it in the gravel, nose in with the rear end missing and the wheels spinning furiously, which is a sure sign the throttle is jammed open. Whether it was jammed open and caused the accident or whether he got it wrong on the bump, hard to tell, but it was moved a lot of tyre wall, very big accident.
Yeah, it certainly was. He did seem to move the barriers quite extensively down there, not just the tyre wall, but also the barriers seem to be misplaced as well. So we'll have to wait and see whether they can continue the race without doing any surgery to the racetrack.
Well, having comprehensively hobbled almost everybody in the fields into Nissan battles with the first safety car, let's hope they can get away without a second one. Of course, we'll be waiting with interest to see what happens with Baz Linders. Looking at the 63 Corvette just coming onto pit road from the lead of the GT2 class. The second in the GT2 class.
Yeah, I think it was probably leading when it came in, was it? It was. No,
it's 2 cars between them, or a car between them.
Oh, okay, fine. Well, I think it's about on schedule because these guys came in for their first pit stop during the first safety car period, so they're now about due for a pit stop in any case, and so I'm sure we will see everybody else in fairly soon thereafter. The Porsches and most of the other Canetters certainly could go several more laps, but if there is a full course caution now, that's depending on where the pace cars come, potentially not a bad idea to come in and make your pit stop before the safety car would emerge.
They may well have had it forced on them by fuel consumption. They're changing tyres on the car as well, although no sign of a driver change, so Jan Magnussen will stay in. As we run down the full course round up there with you down towards the bottom, you'll still see that the J-Lock Lamborghini is confounding all of us by running after other cars have had problems, and quite a number of them. Rocket Sport Jaguar still in the garage, has yet to officially retire, but either do many laps. Nigel Mansell in a Beach Team Mansell Motorsport car is out as well. We've already heard that he is seemingly okay, despite what looked like some unnecessarily overactive marshalling carrying him out of the car.
He had hurt his legs, certainly, and I was down just talking to John Thorburn down there in the Beach Team Mansell Motorsport team just a few minutes ago, and Nigel's doctor from Jersey actually happened to be here to watch the race, so he went down there to the medical centre just to have a look around, because he's rattled a few bones around in the past in any case, hasn't he, Nigel?
Highcroft Racing on the pit road. They're HPD second in the LMP2 class, and they were 4 seconds behind the leading team, Stracker Racing, as they crossed the start line, which means right up there, chuffed Stuart Hall as they came into the pit lane. That's still an enormously close battle for LMP2.
Yeah, those 2 cars are going at it very hard indeed. Marino Franchitti just climbing aboard the Highcroft Racing Acura, just replacing David Brabham, and he'll now go head-to-head with Danny Watts.
Yeah, I think Danny pulled away a fair bit, hadn't he? And I was kind of surprised that David wasn't able to keep up with him during those early stages. The Stracker car's already made its second pit stop. Here is the Highcroft car emerging from its second stop. There's going to be quite a margin between those two when they come back, and I think that margin you saw as they came into pit lane, Martin, was as a result of the Stracker car having stopped 1 lap earlier.
Indeed is the case. Leading in GT1, incidentally, was the number 60 Ford of Thomas Much. That's the Maytech competition car. As you saw, the BMW Art car coming back down pit road. Still no call for their sister car, the 78, which is in the GT2 class, which is currently being led by the 64 Corvette of Ollie Gavin from Johnny O'Connell. In fact, so they must have done the driver change while I was looking down at the screen. Jan Magnussen out, Johnny O'Connell in 63. And Jamie Malo, best of the non-yellow cars. That'll be the Ferrari in 3rd place.
That having come up from the back of the pack, I don't know whether the other guys talked about it before, but that car had qualified on the pole position of on Wednesday, the Risi Competizione Ferrari kind of 82, but after Thursday's qualifying session, in which it didn't set the quick time, it was thrown to the back of the pack. It failed scrutineering at the end of the Thursday qualifying session. The rear wing was slightly too high. It actually made a change of rear bodywork on that car between the two sessions, ironically, and the team is therefore convinced that it was perfectly legal when it actually set the qualifying time, but rules is rules, and so the car had to start at the back. So those guys have done an extremely good job. Jamie Mello has to get that car from the back of the pack up to third place in the class.
Looking here at the battle in the Prototype 1 class, LMP1, one of the Collis Audis. That's the 14 car of Christophe Bouchou at the moment, right ahead of Frank Mailleur in that third Lola Aston Martin, the one that isn't Gulf coloured, so that's the Signature Plus car. And Meyer just losing out a little bit, and there's the Maytech, the Mark VDS Ford rather, driving away from where it was buried in the gravel. So no matter what the damage to the back looks, he's still got a tranny in the thing. If he was a rally driver, it'd be select first gear, let's go. But from the S's all the way round to the pit lane, Stuart, it's a very long way to be driving a car that has had a big impact. However, it does tell us one thing, and that is that the throttle was not jammed on and the wheels weren't spinning because Baz Luhrmann was unconscious in the car, because I doubt a Marshall would have driven it.
Yeah, no, it looks like Baz is okay. The car not so, but I'm sure he'll try and get that back to the pits. The Mark VDS boys will try and fix it, but it looks like it's going to be a bit of a long night for them.
Going to be a few long nights. The BMW art car straight into the Schnitzer garage, and looking now not only for the cause of the puncture but also for the consequent damage within the wheel arch, because the one thing that almost inevitably happens when you have a puncture on any car is that there is a chance of further damage, and then when you're driving it fast, as they are, even when they look like they're almost stationary back to the pits, you can have any amount of extra damage. There's one of the two Felbermeyer Porsches in the GT2 class, and for many years, of course, GT2 has been the domain of Porsche, but Ferrari coming very strong in the last few with the F430. Risi Competizione, the defending champions here, and as Jeremy said, from back of the grid up to third place, as we often say during qualifying, actually it doesn't amount to a hill of beans in this 24-hour world, and they're proving exactly that.
Yeah, just anything can happen, and probably will. I mean, at the front, so we've still got that Peugeot 231 at the front of the bill, or 2314, I guess it is, in terms of car numbers at the front. It's still Frank Montagny who led. I'm presuming he took the lead as a result of the fact that he went one lap further. There is Baz Landers trying to get back. He's got an awful long way to go.
He's got a long way to go, but it does seem all to be in one piece. Looks like he's got a right rear puncture.
Well, one and a half at least.
He's got a number of wheels. Oh dear, okay. He's got broken suspension on both sides. It's not a oh, in fact, he hasn't. He's got a broken suspension on the left, and is it punctured on the right? No, that was that sort of rear bit of bodywork flapping that you could see. So it will be quite a long way. If he gets it to the pits, then full marks. Whatever the Mark VDS team do not instantly retire it on him.
Yes, quite. He wants to save himself a walk, doesn't he, apart from anything else? But he's got an awful long way to go. He's just come now onto the Mulsanne straight, so...
Well, let's be honest, in the GT1 class, like any other class, you want to get it back out on the track and lapping fast, because there's no telling what will happen in the race and what will happen with the weather particularly. Well, Jürgen Müller back out in the 78 car after a tyre change, and driver change in that car, so staying in that car in fact, so just been passed by the Peugeots. Yes, sort of get back with a little race recap. Peugeot dominant right from the very start. Early safety car period conspired particularly to break up any chance of Audi catching the Peugeots, and the lead Audi of Alain Magnish still in fifth position and a minute and a half adrift.
Yeah, having said that, the gap between the first and the fifth place cars, the first of the Peugeots and the first, that's Eric Dodonka there in the Mark VDS pit there.
I just want to call it Van der Straten all the time.
Yes, exactly.
In the Mark VDS pit.
Yeah, Eric Dodonka, he's an interesting character. He's won the European GT4 Championship for a couple of years. Racing now also in GT3 with the Mark VDS Ford Mustang, which is a fascinating motor car. They've had some problems the first couple of rounds, didn't need to actually race at Silverstone, but they've got high hopes for that car. It's built by Multimatic in Canada. But Eric, he's also doing some GT1 this year. He's a former professional golfer. He's a former professional motorcycle champion in Belgium. He's quite a character, and he was telling me the other day he's just sold an original AC Cobra race car that he had.
So he's not on the poor side either.
Not the dole, no.
Not on the dole. There's a great 1980s word, and speaking of which, UB40 playing here on the stage just beside the circuit tonight. I wonder who's going to... I know if it was the Quo would win over the noise of even the Corvettes, but UB40 might have their work cut out a little. I wonder if 1 in 10 will go and see them. Okay, that's enough UB40 puns. That's official now. We'll draw the line under that. So our overall race leads: 1, 2, 3, 4 for Peugeot, Audi 5, 6, 7. Then the 2 Lola Astons with 8 and 9, car 007, 009. Those are the 2 Gulf cars.
Yeah, those 2 Lola Astons, they're running as like a train, as one would expect them to. Darren Turner doing an excellent job hanging on to the tail of Stefan Mucker. Just a few seconds between those cars, and for most of this race it's been less than that. It's just stretched out a little bit over the last few laps. They were both among the cars that did make a pit stop during that extended first safety car period.
And we're just seeing it officially notified on the timing screens, bearing in mind that the car crashed there 15 minutes ago and is now driving slowly around the track, that yellow flags are being put out at the S's, presumably meaning that they are repairing the barriers and they want drivers to take a bit of care there. Just looking at the 25 Lola Coupe, this is the Ray Mallock racing car with its HPD engine, currently 3rd in LMP2, 2nd in LMP2 now, despite having had an ECU change after leaving the dummy grid and a problem as well that forced an early pit stop under the safety car. So they have had problems thrown at them left, right and centre. But again, like the 2 Acura chassis, the HPD engine in that car has just transformed the RML team. Last year they could barely get a racing lap done almost anywhere when they had a troublesome engine package in the car, but now the HPD engine is not only quick but seems to be giving them very little cause for concern. And Stuart, when you come to this track, what you want is a car that may not be necessarily ultimately the fastest, but is reliable and
Dr.
relatively
Mario
slow.
Tyson, we saw the car coming in and now it's in the garage. What happened?
Dirk had a sudden tire puncture. He could keep the car on the track, but he hit the curbs without a tire, and so apparently we have to check all the parts, the underbody and all the parts if anything is damaged. It should take a few minutes, and then we hope to go out again.
What about the other car? Everything is running like planned?
We have lost a sensor, which causes some traction problems, but other than that, it's fine.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So Stuart, as we were saying, hearing Dr. Mario Tyson saying, other than the problem with the tyres, they are okay with the BMWs, but as we were saying, what you really want here is comfortable for 24 hours.
You do. I'm not sure Peugeot and Audi would see it that way, but especially in the LMP2 class, where reliability is a massive factor, and it has been over the years. As we see now, Marino Franchitti is actually coming up on the back of Olivier Pla, and this is for position.
It is, but how?
How was Pla in front?
Yeah, exactly.
Safety car.
When? No.
When the safety car was out?
No. Those 2 cars were directly behind one of the safety cars during that safety car.
In the same queue?
Yeah, and they ran relatively close together. They were about a minute apart when they made the pit stops. Now they're 2.5 minutes apart. And
in which case, some teams have changed tyres and some teams haven't, and that would be the most straightforward and most obvious answer.
They have changed drivers in that Highcroft car, but
which would suggest a longer change for tyres as well. Quick commercial break as we take a pause. The battle continues in LMP2. Back live to Le Mans, where we are watching the sole remaining AF Corsa GT2 class Ferrari, which is currently lying in the monitor that we can't read. It's all right, Jeremy, you can talk. It doesn't, showing me two fingers doesn't work on television or radio either. Second in the GT2 class, we're saying.
Yes, indeed.
Tony Vilander. Okay, after the 64 Corvette came onto pit road.
Yeah, and Vilander has not yet made his second pit stop. Jimmy Bruni has just taken over from Jamie Mello in car number 82. That was the class leader after the Corvettes came onto pit lane. So Bruni has just gone out of the pits, having taken over from Jamie Mello in car number 82. We're going to get out of the pit lane.
Yes, to have a quick word with Oliver Gavin, who has just handed over the lead car in the GT2 category.
It'd be great to hear Ollie's take on the early stages of this race. Corvettes have certainly been running absolutely beautifully all week long, and I think they've shown extremely good straight line speed, although not massively quicker than the Porsches and the Ferraris either. It's been a very close GT2 battle all the way through practice and qualifying. The battle, unfortunately, of course, has been split up by that safety car period, and also the fact that the Corvettes are on different, well, everybody really is on different strategies in GT2, but this contest is going to go on throughout the evening, throughout the night, and hopefully throughout tomorrow as well, until the 3 o'clock closer on Sunday afternoon.
Well, there is the 64 car right behind the IMSA Matlock Performance machine. The 77 Porsche of, in fact that's the 78 so no, it's 77 Porsches in front of them, 76 Porsches in front of them on the road, but behind them in class at the line. So in fact this is to retake position. So Patrick Pilet, the Porsche factory driver in that IMSA Matlock Porsche, is just clinging on to 4th place in the GT2 class ahead of Olivier Beretta, who has got full tanks. And we have now managed to prize Ollie Gavin out of the garage. Let's have a quick word from him.
Oliver Gavin, how is it going so far with your car? You're leading.
Yeah, it's going very well, really. Yeah, the first two stints seem to go pretty well to plan. We're just trying to run through the usual sort of fuel, tyres, and then the second stint driver. We did actually manage to double stint the tyres on that second stint. But yeah, traffic's a bit of an issue. You know, there's lots of it. The P cars are coming past at a hell of a rate, and some of the slower P cars are a little tricky to pass for us, and they seem to be getting in the way a little bit. But it's going to be a hugely intense battle between our teammates and also with the Ferrari. Porsche's not far away, so really it's going to be a hell of a race. So looking forward to it.
Yeah, what do you make out of your lap times compared to your competitors here?
Well, they're very, very close, very competitive, great teams, great drivers. I don't think there's really going to be much to show between any of us in overall lap time. I just think it's going to come down to who's the smartest, who stays out of the trouble, who doesn't get hit by a P car or by other GT cars. So it's it's 50% luck, this race is, and the rest of it's down to the team and the car, the drivers. So we'll see, but long way to go.
So what about your schedule now?
My schedule now is to see my family and debrief a little bit. I'm going to talk to the press people here, and then I'll go back, try and eat something, rest, and then be back here in about 3 hours' time to get back in.
Okay, see you later.
Thanks.
While Ollie was chatting to us, Tony Vilander, who was the GT2 leader, came in and has had service. You saw the Mark VDS Racing Ford has finally made it back. Hooray! Good job by Bas Leinders. And in from 4th place is car number 4. Nico Lapierre stays on board the Oreca run Peugeot, and he goes back out. Franck Montagny still leads in 2, from Pedro Lamy in 3, and this is the battle for 3rd and 2nd. Marc Genet 13 seconds off the lead, Pedro Lamy 11.6 seconds off the lead. There is 1.5 seconds between them, and Stewart teammates and blah 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 blah. Last year's winners in 3rd place. That's not going to go down very well with them, really, is it?
I wouldn't say it'd be going down very well with them, but at this stage of the race last year, the winners, I think, weren't leading.
Yes.
I think that car is going to be the patient car. I think the number 2 and 3 are going to be going at it hammer and tongs, and I should think the experience of the likes of Genet, Burts and now Davidson will probably sit back and just sit there and wait for carnage to evolve who it does.
Well, Alex Wurz, of course, was the youngest driver ever to win the 24 Hours of Le Mans when he won his first race, when he was barely half the age he is now. Not strictly accurate for the pedants among you, but when he was very young indeed in a Joest Porsche open car, and now back with a chance perhaps to win a second race for a French manufacturer. There can't be too many drivers that have been able to do that. I don't think in Peugeot's last iteration the winning driver shared cars in 2 consecutive years. Bit of debris in the track there, but no competition yellows yet. Right up behind one of the Ford GTs with our third place car, and that's the sort of thing that swings annoyingly against you when you catch a car right in a position you can't do anything about it, but that's just given the car in front an extra sort of second, Stuart. So now, you know, 10 laps of hard work creeping up behind him is all undone in one little balking moment, whether the driver in front can do anything about it or not.
It is massively frustrating, but that's part of the quality of a good sports car driver. Nowadays, anybody can turn a quick lap every now and again if you're fairly talented, but it takes the real talent is doing those quick laps, lap after lap, in and out of traffic, 24 hours. And people like Nish, you know, they are the real masters. We see again Peugeot getting held up by the RML Lola, and again that's very frustrating for them, but that's part and parcel of the Le Mans 24 Hours.
Yeah, it's a long sequence through the Porsche S's, Jeremy, isn't it? And it is a single groove racetrack. You know, there's room around where the other car's going, but there's not any time to exploit it unless they are very slow.
Yeah, nor is there any guarantee that the car in front of you that you're trying to pass has actually seen you coming up in the mirrors. And as you say, you swing from one side of the track to the other through there, so you just, at this stage in the race particularly, you have to be patient. Tommy Erdoff said he just has brought that RML car into the pit lane. That is hopefully a scheduled stop. It's the third stop of the day for that team, but running currently second place in LMP2. Just another couple of quick notes here. Baz Leenders, it took him 20 minutes and 29 seconds to complete that lap and get it back to the pit lane. He's now, of course, quite surprisingly, been pushed back into the garage of the Mark VDS racing team, and hopefully they'll go to work. Well, they will go to work on that car, and hopefully they will get it back out again.
Yes, I mean, the fact that he was able to drive it back in without too many other bits falling off suggests actually that no matter how ugly it looked, it was, well, possibly more than polish out time, but you would think that they'd be able to put rear suspension on it and roll it out. After all, we're not even at tea time yet.
And as we see the IMSA performance car, the Matlock Porsche, onto pit lane for scheduled service. Also a note that Giancarlo Fisichella has taken over the wheel of car number 95, the AF Corsa, the sole remaining AF Corsa Ferrari. He was in the lead of the class when he came in for that pit stop, and now with everybody having made the second pit stop of the day in GT2, it is reverted to the fact that Olivier Beretta, having relieved Oliver Gavin at the wheel of car number 64, the Corvette, now leads the GT2 class by about 5 seconds from Johnny O'Connell, and in third place, right pretty much on its tail, Patrick Pilet in the best place of the Porsches. Well, he was on his tail.
Indeed, well, that's at the pit lane, so there you can see the two Corvettes running first and second, and Stuart picking something interesting up on the timing screens.
And Marc Genet just set the quickest second sector of the race so far, so that shows he's really not lying down and letting the other two pull away. He's getting the hammer down now, and maybe contrary to what I was saying earlier, he's going to have a go at Pedro.
Well, that annoyance of being held up first by the Ford and then by the RML Lola has obviously given him a little bit of clear air and the chance to run at Pedro Lamy. And so the gap not necessarily closing because Lamy hits traffic, but because Genet has picked up the pace even further as Fassler Lotterer Trellier car changes hands. Now this car currently in 7th. Marcel Fassler was the incumbent, and Andre Lotterer, the timing and scoring tells us, is getting in. So who are we to argue? Pit stops also for the number 13 Rebellion Racing Lola Judd. 008, the Frank Meyer driven Lola Aston Martin is on pit road as well from 13th place. Incidentally, if you're trying to find timing and scoring, we're not using it here because we do actually have the circuit timing and scoring, but it is on lemans.org, lemans.org. It should be free and functioning, although they have had a few fallovers due to demand during the week leading up to the race.
It's working now, because actually I did put it on my laptop just a few minutes ago in actual fact, so it's certainly working now. lemans.org, lemans.org, you will find the live time if you want to watch that. Meanwhile, the leading car, number 2, is onto the pit lane. Franck Montagny for his third stop of the day, as we are on board here with Marc Gené, who's just set a very quick time there, 3:21.2. Boy, that is flying. We heard Sebastian Bourdais saying they were driving flat out earlier on. Well, maybe they are. 3:21 is pretty remarkable at this stage in the race.
When he said that, their best lap was a 3:30 to 3:28 for the lead 2 cars. Now, Gené is down to the sort of pace that they were running at the end of qualifying last on Thursday night, long after they'd done their qualifying. And the first problem for a Peugeot is that our race, no, it's not our leader, that's Lamy then. Yes, it is. He's about to lose second place to Gené. Softly, Catchy Monkey and Punctury Tyree also helping. So Gené up to second in the number 1 car, and down to third on track goes Pedro Lamy, number 3 car. Now Montagny has left the pit lane, so Pedro can't grab first back, but so Marc Gené can't grab first back, but the man who started on pole, who led the race early, picks up the first major front-running puncture.
And this is going to cost him a lot of time. He's got to go a long way around on his track, and he's going awfully quickly, Stuart Hall.
He is. You don't want that tyre to start delaminating, because that's going to start ruining bodywork and causing a lot of damage. And you see when it lets go down the Mulsanne.
That was somebody else, wasn't it? That wasn't.
No, that was
I believe that was Gené overtaking Pedro.
That was just as he made the pass into the first chicane. So Gené, fastest first sector of all in the race on this lap, and his second sector he's currently on. He's also moved up to second. He is on a rip.
Has anybody told Mark this is qualifying? This is actually the race, and they've already got a minute and a half over everybody else.
I thought at the beginning, actually, that the rules had changed that we hadn't spotted for this year, that Le Mans was now officially a 10-lap Formula Ford sprint, but apparently not. However, yeah, I mean, he's doing well over 3 figures there in that car, isn't he? And no wonder it's smoking furiously.
Yes, and it is a puncher. It was going awfully quickly, so it maybe suggested that might not be a puncher. It might be a suspension failure, and he hasn't felt it properly. But
we saw quite a lot of debris fly off into the braking area, and I wonder if it is thrown off the carcass, and all he's got is the rim and the shoulder. In which case, actually, if he thinks he's seen the main part of the tyre thrown off, or he can feel it, then actually he can pick up the pace a bit, because the danger is done by the bits of tyre flailing around like a whip on a chain. So if it's gone, then there's nothing to do much damage, and perversely, the less tyre there is, maybe the quicker you could go. Dr. Wolfgang Ulrich on the left also there discussing what is up with the Peugeot. You know, it's down at the front. Yeah.
He's smiling a bit now more, isn't he, than he was earlier on?
Yeah, only 3 more to go.
Yes, quite. Yeah. Good news and bad news. There is the Oreca car having made its third pit stop of the day. I think it's just ahead of McNish. Yes, it is. They're on board here with the number 7 car, Alain McNish. They're ahead of him, directly ahead of him.
Oh,
yes. The Oreca Peugeot, but of course that has made 1 more pit stop than has Alain McNish.
Can you see that making even the slightest entrance as our second place car, Marc Gené, comes onto pit road? Nish has got a target in his sights for the first time in nearly 2 hours. Stuart, he's just going to give him everything he can and try and unsettle him and make a position up. Even if he has to go into the pits now, he wants to get in front of that Oreca Peugeot.
I know he smells blood. There's traffic ahead, so he might be able to use that to his advantage. Nicolas Lapierre, slightly more inexperienced. A lot more unexperienced Alain McNish, so can he pounce and move that Audi? With the problem with that Pedro Lamy's encountering now, he could actually move that Audi into the top 3 before it comes into the pits.
Now, I don't know if that's Sam Hancock or Adrian Fernandez in the 007 Aston. It's the 6 car as well in front of him, Sayela Yari. So it's 009? Yes, couldn't identify it before from behind. Sam Hancock it is. So that will be very hard to catch. I mean, the Corvette's the devil's own job to get by for the P cars because they're so darn quick. As in comes 3. So Genet marked as our race leader as he stopped to pit in car number 1. 3 in second place as he came into the pit lane with the puncher. Stefan Sarrazin, because of his tyre stop, is now down to 3rd, having taken over from Montagny in the 2 car. So Genet out, we know that. And who do we see getting in? It did tell Ant Davidson, of course it was. And he's left already. Pedro Lamy also steps out, the man who started this race from pole. Here come the Audis as well. And McNish comes in, didn't manage to get the place off the 4 car before he did so.
The Peugeot going into the garage suggests it was a suspension problem and not a puncture. Yes. So some major repairs going to have to go on in that garage to get that car back out on the circuit.
Yeah, at the very least to have a good look around that suspension, because there was he was going awfully fast and there was rubber flailing around in there in any case. So here is a routine stop though for Alan McNish out of the car.
Yes, and in gets Tom Christensen. Yep. So McNish, Capello and Christensen, you've got to think that's the most experienced driver lineup, or certainly here, but I mean, ever? In terms of Le Mans starts, wins and race results, it can't be many more experienced teams ever to have started. And if they were, Audi had them. Security trying to keep the cameras out, like it makes a difference. What are Audi going to learn as they can patently see you're changing the front suspension? Yes, the man with his back to us, Stuart's gesticulating, has got front wishbone in his hands. That will be a wholesale change. And Jeremy, a puncture's one thing. Car with a suspension failure, suddenly ding-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling, all sorts of alarm bells ring. Stuart, if you're a driver, let's see your Marc Genet going by Pedro Lamy. First of all, you think it's a puncture. Okay, that's one thing. When your engineer gets on the radio, McNish didn't get in front, did he? So Christensen follows out Romain Dumas.
Yes, I think Romain Dumas has actually got ahead of Tom Christensen in the pits.
No, they came in that order.
Oh, they came in. Yeah. My mistake, sorry.
They did, yes. The yellow car was behind, coming down pit road.
But going back to your previous comment about the Peugeot, that's very unlike that car that's done Le Mans four times now. To have a front suspension failure like that, it does suggest that Pedro Lamy may have had contact with the slower car and weakened the part, which then led to its failure. But we can all speculate. I'm sure we're not going to hear the real reason from Peugeot, so we'll just have to
that's for sure.
Zip it on that matter.
But again, to get back to the point I was going to ask you, as a driver, you go by and you think your teammate's got a puncture, that's one thing. If they then get on the radio, your engineers, and say to you, okay, it wasn't a tyre, it was a suspension problem, suddenly you're going, oh, okay, then maybe a little bit more aware of noises and vibrations, perhaps.
Yeah, I think you might be. I think if you're in any other car, bar a Peugeot and Audi, you might think of that. But it's something that I haven't seen much before happen on a Peugeot, so it suggests Pedro may have had contact with another car, because a front wishbone failure that looks like they were holding the wishbone up is a very, very rare occurrence in one of these cars to happen straight without any other factor in it.
Yeah, and dreadful news for Sebastian Bourdais, of course, the local hero from Le Mans, lives downtown, just a couple of miles away here from the racetrack, actually building a new house down there he is, it'll be just crushing for him, and we did a fabulous job in qualifying to get this car on the pole position, turned 2 laps quicker than anybody else, and you can see there the frustration.
Yes, absolutely, and that is Bourdais and not Pedro Lamy. And in fact, he is now taking the helmet off, so he was ready to get in, bearing in mind that Franck Montagny had just stopped, and Marc Genet came in on that lap as well. That was clearly a lap for a scheduled stop. He was ready to go, and he cannot believe his luck. Well, we're going to get down and talk to Olivier Canel, the Bosch of Peugeot Sport, but I'm not sure that he's going to have an awful lot he can say to us. Don't think we really need to hear from Sebastian Bourdais. The hunch body shows everything. It does look like they're going to withdraw that car. That may well be, yes, good call, Stuart Hall. That may well be what he has just been told. Yes, I'm afraid that has all the hallmarks of a bombshell just going off in that garage.
Yeah.
Well,
a slightly bigger problem than a wishbone then. Looks like something to do with the tub, something like that.
On a un problème de suspension avant droit et la voiture c'est fini.
We lost the right front suspension. and the car's finished. Can't repair it. What's the reason for the failure? An accident or? Don't know. Not sure what's happened on the track. Well, he says he doesn't know. Is it going to be a problem for the other cars? No, not as far as we're concerned. Okay, so I tell you what, you need a job reading body language, Stuart Hall. That was absolutely on the money. They have pulled the car instantly.
Yeah, as soon as he put the nose back on the car and work on it, it was patently clear, wasn't it? But yeah, well spotted there, Stuart. And what a disaster those guys. I mean, I can't remember the Peugeot having any kind of a suspension failure before. They've run an awful lot of tests and miles on this car since its last race. Since the last race here, they've done 3 races. With this development of this car, there's over 10,000 miles, I think, of testing. Just a huge amount of development work has gone into that car, and to have a suspension failure apparently without any outside cause, very strange.
I mean, you have to feel for Sébastien Bourdais. The guy goes and puts it on pole with a stunning lap. I mean, last year the car had a collision in the pit lane. I think may have had problems the year before, and this year that's happened. I mean, the guy's clearly quick enough to win this race, and everything keeps on going wrong for him. So, but on the other side of the foot, Allan McNish in the Audi, well, and Christensen and Capello, they're creeping up. The same old team, slowly creeping up the leaderboard. Who knows what more problems Peugeot could encounter, but I really expect those guys to come into play as this race wears on. Yeah,
just harking back again to that bad luck of Bourdais. 1 year ago here, even with an hour to go in the race, his car with Montagny and Sarrazin, they still had an opportunity to win this race. Unfortunately, there was a late safety car period, and they were held up behind the safety car, and after that they were half a lap behind, and there went any chance they had of winning the race, when they were on different strategy last year to the #1 car and really did have a legitimate chance to win that race before it was taken away by a very unfortunately timed pace car, safety car period.
And utter heartbreak there. I mean, Bourdais, I think, particularly would have felt that really hardly. You've got to feel really hard. You've got to feel sorry for Pagenaud as well. I mean, what a great break for the young Frenchman, and for Peugeot as well. Really very strong team. The marker of doom has already been out, but I'm afraid I really did not expect to have to write off any Peugeots. What's the time now? 5:30 in the afternoon. The race is 2.5 hours old, and we've lost one of our 4 Peugeots. You could have never imagined putting money on that happening.
No, you couldn't. It's good. It's certainly started forming into a race of attrition, and a lot of cars having a few problems. And what more are we going to have?
So we haven't had any big clashes between cars. We haven't had foul weather and rain. And that, somebody said the Peugeot's going out after 2.5 hours. That would be your only chance. It couldn't possibly happen from anything else, but it has. We'll be back in just a second here at Le Mans. Welcome back live to Le Mans. We're on board Audi number 9, the car that currently lies in 4th place after the retirement of car number 3, one of our quartet of Peugeot 908 HDIs, the car that at the time was sitting pretty in 2nd position. It turns out a front suspension failure, not a puncture, was what slowed it on the Mulsanne straight here some 4 or 5 minutes ago. Into the garage, very brief examination, then Stuart Hall, the depth charge detonated under the drivers. No chance to repair it, and that means only one thing: the suspension had pulled out of the tub and there was no way to repair it, because if it was just a broken suspension arm, you can replace it.
You can, and that's a crushing blow for that team. But they do have 2 cars left in it, and they do have the Oreca Peugeot, so it's not like they're out of this race by no means, but it has given Audi a bit of a boost. They've got 2 cars at the moment very close to each other, and they're hunting down Nick Lapierre in the Oreca Peugeot, so the race shaping up very nicely indeed after that safety car putting everything out of balance.
Now, we did, I've just casting my mind back to a couple of days ago, we did see an incident down at Tex Rouge where one of the Peugeots went flying through the air, didn't it? Can you remember which one that was? It was that car, wasn't it?
That was Bourdais, yeah.
Yes, but
was it Bourdais?
It was Bourdais, yeah, I remember, yeah.
And you know, that's the sort of thing that you don't get a chance to crack test the suspension probably when you're at the racetrack. I mean, you have a good look over everything. Maybe, just maybe, because I don't think Pedro Lamy, he's about as honest as they come. If he did anything
he would have said, yeah.
He would have said, I'm sure.
Well, this is the battle for 4th place then. Raymond Dumas under pressure from Tom Christensen as we cut away from it. And that's a really interesting thought, Jeremy, because, of course, what the team will have done yesterday is take off all the suspension from qualifying, and with the resources of Peugeot and Audi, I would have imagined, almost without question, have bolted on an entirely new set of suspension at all corners. New gearbox, new engine. And basically, they strip it down to the bare tub, bar the wiring and the fuel tank, and everything new goes on. But again, if he'd just broken a suspension arm, they would have bolted a new one out and sent him out. So what has happened is, very probably, the landing from that bump has weakened the tub, and eventually, under the huge loads that they generate here, not on the straight but particularly under braking, at some stage it's just ripped the suspension mounting out of the tub itself, and that is unfixable in the race.
Yeah, pure speculation, of course, at this stage, but it certainly is
as close as we're ever going to get to an answer, because they'll never tell us.
A possible explanation.
Meanwhile, Signature, I beg your pardon, not the Rebellion Lola Coupe is holding off the 008 Aston Martin. Now, this was an interesting battle earlier on. Is that Guy Smith in 13, or is that 12 Neil Yarney? Which is it's 12 Neil Yarney, so in fact just about trying to stop himself going a lap behind 008. And Frank Myers staying in that car. A lot of teams were talking about triple stinting tyres and drivers. Some teams deciding they're only going to double stint their drivers and double stint their tyres as a result. Because generally, Stuart, what you do when you chuck the next Muppet in is you give them at least a fighting chance with a new set of rubber.
You generally do. Also, when you change drivers, it takes quite a long time, and it usually takes longer to change drivers than it does to fill a tank up with fuel. So generally, you try to change drivers and put tyres on at the same time. Teams would also want to start trying to triple stint the tyres, because obviously, first of all, you're in the pits for a lot less time. If the tyres are holding up and they hold up on the fuel load, there's no need to change tyres. And also, as we go into the night, you're going to give the other drivers time to rest a lot more, and that's certainly what the Audi guys do. They did it last year. They were quadruple stinting last year, which gave the other guys enough time to get a good night's kip and be very fresh for the next morning.
Well, that then moves into JJ Lehto's spheres and Super Dane spheres of sort of doing 5 or 6 stints through the night, actually just because you're in the groove and you won't get out of the car. But they tend to be a little bit more disciplined team bosses now than to allow their drivers to carry it on like that. So, well, big story in the first couple of hours here. The safety car ended up splitting up the lead battle, but now suddenly maybe one little balance has swung a tiny bit away from Peugeot and giving Audi a bit more hope. And actually, looking at the race pace, Audi still needs something. J-Lock Lamborghini, yes, it's still going. Much against many predictions.
That one looks like it is a puncture, I think.
Well, yes,
at the very least at the moment. But he is trying to lift that car back. Again, we are seeing a lot of punctures today, which is something we've seen all the way through the week.
And particularly on the GT1 cars, and particularly on the left rear. I think actually probably exclusively on the left rear, which means they are drifting over some curbing somewhere. And actually, you look here, exit there of that chicane. I mean, in the Porsche race, Tim Harvey and the rest in the slippery stuff were right up to within inches of the grass. They were using so much road, and these guys aren't, because they don't need to. But I'm sure there's enough muck out there to cause problems if it wants.
Just a note on the GT1 class, it's led by the Maytech competition for GT. John?
I'm glad that the Aston Martin is called the Young Driver Aston Martin, because two of them, Peter Cox and Thomas Enger, are very firmly not young. Thomas 33, Peter Cox 46, so Christopher Nygaard 24. At least it does have one young driver in it. But you're right, Jonathan Hershey in the last couple of years in Renault Megane, to use the phrase win as he wished would probably be to do him a little bit of a disservice. He's really very phenomenally quick in those, and clearly turning into quite something of a sports car race as well.
Yeah, sharing here she with Thomas Mooch and Romain Grosjean. That's good experience from as well. I mean, okay, Grosjean doesn't have a lot of GT1 experience, but he and Thomas Mooch have already won 2 GT1 World Championship races this season. So for the youngster there, Hirschi, a good opportunity to learn a lot this weekend.
Swapping of places has happened then between the two Audis, which means that Tom Christensen is in 4th place ahead of Romain Dumas and Andre Lotterer. 7, 9 and 8 are 4th, 5th and 6th.
So honour is restored then in the Audi Cup so far as Alan Nishiko are concerned, right?
I was wondering a little actually whether he'd sit behind him for a while. There are two things that win you Le Mans, good luck and good fuel mileage. And sitting behind the other Audi just might creep you an extra litre or 2 in a stint. Now, obviously, he's decided that Romain Dumas' pace wasn't quite what he wanted to be running, and he'd like to go a 10th or 2 quicker a lap. And maybe Audi have got their fuel programme, and no amount of slipstreaming down all the straights behind your teammate is going to gift you an extra lap. But it's just interesting. It did occur to me he might sort of sit there for quite a while.
Yeah, they both did 3 minutes 28 seconds and change on the last lap around. In the meantime, the race leader, Stefan Sarrazin, now at the wheel of car number 2, he turned a 3 minutes 25.7, so 3 seconds a lap quicker. And Anthony Davidson in car number 1, who's currently less than 5 seconds behind Stefan Sarrazin, he turned a 3 minutes 22, so 2.5 seconds quicker than Stefan Sarrazin. So I think possibly we're going to have maybe a battle for the lead developing over the next couple of circuits here.
Yes, our leader, car number 2 for Peugeot, Nick Minassian, French. Stefan Sarrazin, French. Franck Montagny, French. And closing fast from behind is the car that they didn't want to win last year, with all the foreigners in Alexander Wurz, Marc Genet and David Brabham. And the difference this year is that Brabs is back with Highcroft, and Davidson is in the car that they don't necessarily particularly want to be the first one to get to the line. And we've still got a lot of hours to shuffle this around and sort it out. Well, but it does bring interesting politics in. And you know, when you're at Audi watching the Peugeot closing up there on the leader, then you're going, okay, that'll knock a second or 2 off their lap time.
Yeah, we say that kind of tongue-in-cheek, because if you think back one year,
kind of.
Well, yeah, but I mean, yeah, the number 1 car last year, that car you were just talking about, the Wurz, Brabham and Genet car was leading the race, and the French driven car was on the same lap. So if they really wanted to mess around, they could have brought the car into, sorry, we need some more fuel, fuel the end. And they didn't do that to their credit. So
if they really wanted to make all the headlines over their first win at Le Mans about team orders and how the obvious rightful winners were robbed by team orders just to allow some French people to win it, then they could easily have done that, but they would have lost far more than they gained.
I'm going to beg to differ you there, because the number 2 car was clearly the quicker car all the way through the week all through the race 1 year ago. And as I said earlier on, if they hadn't had that final safety car period within the final hour of the race, the number 2 car almost certainly would have won, because it had to make 1 less pit stop than the other car.
Like I said, luck and fuel mileage.
Absolutely, yes.
So there you go.
That's what it's all about here. There's no question about it. Let's have a word. Back in GT2 again, it's still the Corvette's first and second, less than 5 seconds between Olivier Beretta and Johnny O'Connell's car number 64 and 63 respectively. Jimmy Bruni is at the wheel of the Risi Competizione Ferrari. He's about 17 seconds behind the leader, 3rd in GT2.
Well, we're looking here at the Maytech Ford of Jonathan Hershey, and Stuart, as a prototype driver, when you are here, obviously other prototypes are a bit of a nightmare, as the Drayson Lola Judd is going to be pushed back into the garage. Johnny Cocker took that one over a while ago. but that's being pushed in now.
Yeah, and just an add-on note on that, they had some problems again this morning. We know the other day they had a crank sensor problem which stranded the car just after the end of the pit lane. They had exactly the same problem this morning in the warm-up, so they've had sort of these sensor problems on that engine, which is really weird. It's very unusual, but particularly two of them within a couple of days is a major surprise. And in fact, that engine now has two crank sensors on board, and they can switch between the two, but this looks like it's something a bit more serious than
well, I'm wondering if it was this car that I was hearing about, but one of them is putting these problems down to some kind of bizarre harmonic vibration, and that might be the case there.
Yeah, it's a great shame for them. Johnny Cocker actually was putting a string of good laps together around the 3:30 range, and after taking over from Paul Jason, he was really hauling that car up the order. So great disappointment, but hopefully that's going to be a quick fix, and they're going to be back out probably with Pirro at the wheel. And after Sebring, we all know what he can do in that car.
Absolutely, and Paul Jason, after his opening stint, was just, I mean, I don't know if they've got him down off the ceiling yet. He was so excited by starting Le Mans, and you know, every lap he does here in the car just getting faster and faster and faster, and just, I mean, you know what it was like the other day after qualifying. He's going, oh my God, now I know what this car can do. You just can't calm him down. I mean, if intravenous adrenaline does more than that, I don't know, maybe they should just put heart attack victims in a P1 car and let them go for a bit.
It is wonderful to see that enthusiasm. Of course, Paul Jason, the last round, the most recent round of the American Le Mans Series at Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca out in California, Paul Jason for the very first time did qualify that car and did start the race. First time he's ever done that, and I think he's just got a boost in confidence, and I think that first stint here will have done some more good as well.
Dr. Ulrich, 3 Peugeot in the lead, 3 Audis behind. Is everything going according to plan for the moment for you?
Yeah, we have not been so happy with the pace car, because this costed us more than 1 minute. And if you're so close with the speed, then it's really tough, because, yeah, to have an advantage of 1 minute in racing, you need several hours, and this happened within some seconds, and we couldn't have any influence on that. But anyway, that's a part of the racing, and we try just to keep the pace and go constantly and quick.
Did you change the strategy after this happened with the safety car?
I know you have no influence on the safety car, and we just continue our strategy, the one that we started with.
When you see a Peugeot stopping that early in the race, is that a sign that they might be going too quick?
No, I don't think. I think they have quite reliable cars, and I have not exactly seen what happened, but yeah, it must have been something important. If not, they wouldn't have taken the car out of the race.
Thank you very much.
Well, they need to listen to Radio Le Mans a little bit more, don't they, or watch Eurosport, because we're pretty much up on exactly why. As he says, yes, they wouldn't have taken the car out of the race if it was a trivial problem. No, indeed, Audi can't do very much about the safety cars. You just have to live with it. But interestingly, Stuart, at the moment, Peugeot's 1, 2 and 3, 325.6, 325.2, 324.7. Behind them, Audi's 4, 5 and 6, 327, 327, 326. So they're away, and they're further away than you want to be, really, with your only competitor, aren't they? You know, you don't want to be a second and a half a lap away, or 2 seconds a lap away, because over 24 hours, God, it's a yawning gap. But one break somewhere can suddenly wipe out an hour, 3 or 4 hours of hard work, and Audi have had that gap opened up by being caught by a different safety car from the Peugeots and being released at the separate time as well. So it can swing either way, we all know that.
It's very, very unpredictable at the moment. Apart from the number 3 car, all things going to plan with Peugeot. They're slowly pulling away from the 2 Audis, 3 Audis by mistake behind them. But anything can happen. As you saw with the Pedro Lamy car, it just takes one little thing to happen and boom, you're out of the race. So they'll be keeping themselves honest, and Audi will be keeping them honest and keeping Audi honest. Aston Martin with Fernandez in the 007 car and Hancock in the 009 car.
Absolutely right. They're lying 7th and 8th, and of course they're not the only Audis. The top 3, we've got the 2 Colles cars in 10th and 13th place at the moment. We'll take a quick break. Be right back. sixth entry here at Le Mans in the car he shares with Marc Rostin, his longtime cohort, and Swiss Ralf Maestri in the gravel at the left-hander at Indianapolis, the slower bit at which you can crash after a clash with the Ferrari of the Krone Racing team. Not sure if it was Tracy Krone.
Oh yes.
So the two car owners coming to grips with each other, proving that in fact it is compulsory in the rules somewhere for car owners to crash them every time they go out. So Tracy Krone back on pit road, and Pierre Bruno is in the gravel. Meanwhile, Inter-Nissan Porsche battle here in the GT2 car. Let's have a look on your GT2 monitor. Patrick Pilet is in the white car, and Wolf Hensler, oh no, this must be 88 then, is it? Not 77. Oh, it is 77. That's Wolf Hensler ahead of Patrick Pilet. So this is a battle for position, and they were half a second apart in the other order at the line. So he has just passed him.
Yeah, I'd say Wolf Hensler on a roll there in that number 77 car. Meanwhile, on the same lap, Jimmy Bruni has just set his fastest lap of the race, a 4 minutes, 0.576, almost identical time to the class leader, Olivier Beretta, 4 minutes, 0.6, and there's now 16 seconds between the first and third place in GT2. As you see Tracy Krone's car being pushed back into the garage, you can see the left front damage on that car number 83.
So it looks as though Pierre Bruno got by him between the two parts of Indianapolis and tried to get back on the racing line. Or, as the prototype came past, Tracy tried to outbrake him into Indianapolis. I'm suggesting possibly the latter have been the more likely of the eventualities. Whatever, they managed to out-fumble each other into the gravel. And this was the pass then, yes, being indicated by Patrick Pilet. And that's a good indication of the pace of both cars, actually. Pilet is a factory Porsche driver, and Wolf Hensler as well. And, you know, they're not stinting here. It may not say Rothmans Porsche or something as we're used to seeing in the olden days, in the Group C days, but there are very much a whole host of factory Porsche men helping with the running of these cars, because, of course, they want to win. They don't want Ferrari to win, they don't want Corvette to win, BMW or Aston Martin. They want Porsche to win again at Le Mans.
Yeah, and the Porsche guys were all very confident they were going to get a run with the leaders in GT2 during this 24-hour race. They weren't quite on the ultimate pace in qualifying, but they were absolutely convinced they were going to do so in the race. And, you know, very early stages, they've been running 4-minute 3s or so, the Porsches. The Corvettes, however, have been definitely going quicker than that. And as we've just said, Jimmy Bruni faster still, just under 4-minute flat, as I believe, yeah, one of the Corvettes has just made a pit stop. Johnny O'Connell has just brought the number 63 car in for its third stop of the day.
So that's his second stint just starting. He just brought it in for fuel, and they're preparing the fuel rig for the class leader as well, Olivier Beretta, I think.
And Jimmy Bruni has brought down the gap from now the second place Luigi Competizione Ferrari down to the leader Olivier Beretta, down to 11 seconds. It was 16 last time round, and wasn't it 20 the last time I talked to you about 10 minutes ago? Yes. So Jimmy Bruni has been absolutely flying in that Luigi Competizione Ferrari, looking for that team's third 24-hour race here, win here at Le Mans in a row. Remarkable.
Yeah, that's really worth pointing out. They did, of course, start on the pole, so it's not like they're short on pace.
Well, they qualified on the pole.
Yes, they qualified fastest, so it's not like they're short on pace.
Yeah.
We were going to talk a little bit earlier about passing GT cars from a prototype driver's point of view, Stuart, and particularly with things like the Corvette and the GT1 cars. They're stonkingly quick in a straight line. They've got pretty efficient brakes as well. It's not just pick your place and zip by, is it? You really have to work quite hard just to lap somebody even.
It is, and as we've seen with Karim Ojay in the Bruichladdich Zytek, he found it quite difficult to get past Hensler in the Porsche. I think he probably needed to be a little bit more decisive. But especially in an LMP2 car, in a straight line, then the speed difference between a GT2 and an LMP2 is not great. So you either have to do them through the corners or on the brakes where your aero is at your maximum. So and that is where the skill comes into it. You've got to be very good on the brakes. You've got to use the advantage of your car.
And of course, Karim has got a pace advantage, but he is an enthusiastic gentleman driver, whereas he's up against a young hot shoe factory driver. And Porsche don't accidentally end up putting people in cars. They have to be really la creme de la creme of German racing. So yeah, he's he's got a quicker car, but he's got to really work hard for every place he gets. Well, as you saw there on the list, is the Rocket Sport Jag still running? Shall we just have a little check on that, boys and girls?
I'm afraid not.
No. All right,
I'm not sure whether it's been retired.
No, so it's can't quite see the garage from here, can we?
No.
Meanwhile, as this merely entirely referential thing occurs, is that that's the Spiker. Just getting in a little hot, and oh dear, it's Peter Dumbreck, I'm afraid, at the wheel of 85. Jeroen Bleekemolen started it, Dumbreck took over, Tom Coronel waiting for third, and the Norma going very, very slowly in the background there. That's the Norma. Oh dear, oh Lord, and Peter having problem there, trying to negotiate the traffic as well, right into the back of the Norma, which picks up broken rear suspension. Gone from bad to worse, that.
It looks like going through Indianapolis, Peter's got a little bit out of shape and then braked a little bit too late for the next tight left, ran wide, and then when coming back onto the track with a small amount of damage, through the Porsche curves, obviously going quite slowly on the way back to the pits, that Peter and the Norma have obviously made contact, resulting in the Norma certainly coming off a lot worse.
Well, now, I mean, from when we pick it up, Peter Dumbreck is running into the back of the Norma, and I'm assuming that the Norma moved over, seeing a fast prototype, and was offline, as was Peter himself. Well, fuel and windscreen and all the other bits and pieces, but then they've got to get it on the trolley dollies and get it back in the garage, because that has got to have sustained some damage somewhere. It can't have got away. No, look, you can see bits hanging off the back, in it'll go. It's a shame for the little Dutch Spiker team.
If they were going to send that back out, it certainly probably is the toughest car in the world to get away with an impact like that.
Okay, well, that's the aftermath, I'm afraid, and there was definitely traffic going through, but there was traffic when we picked up the shot as they came out of the first right into the first left element of the S's. And again, we've talked about how basically you have to use all the road to go through the S's quickly. You can't leave a gap for somebody else. There are no straights in that section. It's just wiggly, 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 and once you're committed, that's it, you can't move offline, or you are in the wall, and in the wall hard. And Stuart, from the prototype driver's viewpoint, I don't suppose there can be too many parts of the track that actually attract your attention more than the Porsche curves, because the danger inherent is really about as high as anywhere else on the circuit.
Yes, Martin, there is really only one line through it. Oh, we see the Aston Martin DBR9 with a problem now. Oh, no. I didn't expect that. That car is going quickly again now.
Well, it's not going that quickly, is it? Has it got all four wheels on? Was he just picking up speed?
Maybe he was just kind of, that's good news if
maybe we're just seeing to see prototypes. Meanwhile, sorry, in the pits is Nick Lapierre. This is the car that is in third position, and that means that Tom Christensen will get very close indeed, if not actually up to third. Now, how close are we? Didn't notice what they were doing last lap. Jeremy's noting down when they stopped. The Peugeots have all been on 12 lap stops at the moment.
13 for this time around. It was last in the pit lane on lap 35 was car number 4. It's now 48 laps in the book, so 13 laps there on that stint for Nicolas Lapierre.
And the Aston Martin DBR9 does look like
I'm not thinking that's a Thomas Enger kind of pace in a GT1 Aston.
Do you think?
I don't think it is.
It looks, I mean, I would say it's up to speed. It's not exiting the corner with big black lines out the back of it, so
he's also
Thomas
is
being told to calm down.
He's not on the line. I'm thinking the Porsche that we just saw was going quicker than him. Norma comes in as the Oreca Peugeot goes out, still in third place.
It's nice he's actually got it going again, but that is a bit of a repair job to be had now.
Yeah.
A stop also for the Gulf liveried lower Aston Martin of Adrian Fernandez. Another scheduled stop there for the 7th place car 007, and Sam Hancock in 009. I think he's just made a pit stop as well. So both Lolas Lola Aston Martins on the pit lane, and I think Hancock is going to was out ahead of Adrian Fernandez.
The Drayson car, I was just looking to see on its progress, doesn't appear to be in the garage anymore. So no, Emanuele Pirro has just left recently as the Norma comes in. Pierre Bruneau's car is in its garage as well, up on its jacks, which is what attracted me. The Radical Judd is in the garage next to the Lola Judd, the Drayson Lola Judd, and I was just checking the halt in the lane. The Crone Racing Risi Competizione green Ferrari is still down there, as in comes 52. Meanwhile, looking at the Highcroft Acura, I don't think there's any other ways of saying it, with Marino Franchitti at the wheel. That car still battling hard for the lead of the class, and at the line we're going to have to see exactly what the gap is to class leader Danny Watts in the similar but differently liveried car.
Yeah, and we'll see how they do on their pit stops. Last round of pit stops, as we see Marino Franchitti there, the Highcroft car, of which Marino, of course, is driving now, did I believe do one more lap during the previous stint than the Striker Racing HPD. Of course, pretty much identical cars, and you can see a lot of traffic as they go there through the Porsche curves. But it's going to be the fuel consumption here could be critical between those two cars as the race unfolds.
Well, fuel and tyre, Stuart, is the first thing that any team does, even if the driver comes in saying, I've got a chronic misfire, because whatever it needs fixing, you will need fuel and tyres at some stage. Was he just really low on fuel? I'm really not sure. Oh, you know, instead of me wibbling, his last lap time was a 4:24.
But that was his in lap, and he does appear to be going, so it could have been low on fuel.
Yeah.
But let's hope for our sake that car hasn't got a problem. It can resume battle with the Ford GT, because it's a wonderful car and it's great to get out.
Yeah, but to the line he wouldn't have lost 20 seconds coming down pit road, so that's still a slow lap for some reason. But
the Aston has now made its third pit stop of the day. The class leading Ford GT of Jonathan Hirschi has not.
Yes. No, you're right, absolutely. I don't know actually. 4:24 for an in lap compared to 3:58 for Hirschi's last lap. No, maybe it's just we're used to seeing quicker cars. Maybe the Aston actually had no problem at all. I should withdraw all that and stop talking rubbish. Let's get down to the pit lane then. We just saw the number 4 Peugeot handing over. Here's Nicolas Lapierre.
Nicolas, juste envie de vous dire un mot. Bravo pour 3 heures de course.
Nico, you're in a podium position at the moment after 3 hours of the race. How are you feeling? So I was quite stressy at the beginning. Obviously, lots of pressure from the Audi behind me of Alain McNish. Had to change the tyres during the pit stop. We didn't lose too much to the head of the queue. In the opening laps of McNish, you really were having a great battle. Yeah, he said actually that was really nice, really fun. Knew I really couldn't let him pass.
La voiture de Sébastien Bourdet a abandonné. Est-ce que
Seb's car's out.
ça vous arrive également?
Do you think that is going to happen to you? Well, hopefully not, obviously. The pace is very quick, but the car's strong. Very hard to see what's going on. We've got to concentrate on our car, on our race, try and keep going without any problems, without any contact. So Nicolas Lapierre busy chatting there. Meanwhile, lots and lots of very close on-track action. Back with it again, and McNish again has got somebody in his sights. Tom Christensen rather has got somebody in his sights, and that is the number 4 Peugeot of Loic Duval. So as the number 8 car comes onto pit road, suddenly Christensen is sniffing third place Peugeot fumes. And Stuart, as a driver, it's one thing to be getting closer, it's another when you're almost within fingertips grasp of a pass.
It is, but as we saw with Nicolas Lapierre and Alain McNish on the first lap, it's tough to pass. You know, that Peugeot is pretty quick in a straight line, and a tough car to pass. I think Christensen will be pit soon. Just it seems to me that they've only done 3 stops. Loic Duval's just come out of the pits on a 4 stop, so that gap's going to widen soon.
And Stefan Sarrazin, the race leader, has also just made another pit stop as well. So we're in the middle of a pit sequence now, and it would appear that the Audis are managed to go just a little bit farther than the Peugeots.
Which means that race leader Ant Davidson has saved a lap, or that number 1 car has saved a lap on the second and third place Peugeot.
Actually, it did come in a lap after the number 2 car on the last sequence of pit stop.
Yeah.
And in fact, the Stefan Sarrazin, by my reckoning, did a 12-lap stint that time around. And as we said a few minutes ago, Nicolas Lapierre in the Oreca Peugeot managed a 13-lap stint.
Well, I wonder if they've got a fuel consumption that falls between 2 stools, and if they do 3 12-lappers, they end up getting a 13-lapper or something like that out of it, because the tank's not quite drained by 12 laps, and so gradually you build up an incremental. If you keep filling it, no, that doesn't work, does it?
No,
it doesn't, because you fill it every time. Yeah. Dear, sometimes I wonder why I my mouth. Never mind. Here is third, fourth, and fifth. Well, so much for the safety car trying to break up the race. At the moment, we've got a good little battle going on here, albeit a minute away from the lead pair.
Yeah, and the fact that Christensen has yet to make, Christensen and Dumas have yet to make their 4th pits of the day.
Yes, so very much a false dawn, I'm afraid, for Audi. If they're this close at 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, they might be thinking about it.
Yeah,
and relief of pressure there for Loic Duval, I would think. As in come both Audis together, do they? Hankook Porsche just going out in a GT2 class, and Simonson on board. Let's get back down to the pit lane.
Well, what is exactly happening on your car?
We don't know yet. Unfortunately, we couldn't restart, so they're still working on it. We have to see what's going on.
Are you going to drive right after, or is Cindy saying it?
No, Cindy took the start. Natasha is right now in the car. She will drive again 1 hour, and then I will took over.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
So the 3 girls, of course, sharing the 61 Maytag competition car, that Ford GT. Natasha Gatchnang driving after Cindy Alleman started, and that was the 3rd Swiss girl, Ryle Frey. In the pits then, Romain Dumas stays in, so this will be a fuel short stop only. And Tom Christensen goes back out in front of him.
Interesting enough, Tom Christensen passed Romain Dumas early on in that stint. Romain Dumas then hung on to the back of him throughout the whole stint, so we thought Tom Christensen was going to be a bit quicker, but no, Romain Dumas was within a second of him for that whole stint.
And in terms of fuel consumption, they're both on the same par with most of the other guys. They too did 12 laps since their previous pit stop.
Peugeot leading outright and in P1. The HPD of the Straka Racing team leading in the P2 class. There it is, because we haven't seen very much of it. Ford GT of the Maytag team, the 60 car lies third, and Jimmy Bruni leading the GT2 class in his Ferrari F430. Back aboard the number 2 Peugeot 908 of Stefan Sarrazin. Rushing up towards what is a very fast approach here. Currently chasing our race leader, who is Anthony Davidson in Peugeot number 1. 46.9 seconds between them at the line. 3rd place, Loic Duval, and the number 4, Oreca Peugeot. And there you can see the 2nd place cars 1 and 2, running positions 1 and 2, making life very easy for me.
Yeah, and Anthony Davidson has just made, hasn't he? Did you just say that?
He has just completed his pit stop, yes.
Yeah, so we'll see how that, as we see the number 12 Lola Rebellion car onto pit lane, Neil Jani at the wheel.
Yes.
And also a note here that the Jaguar that we talked about a few minutes ago has retired from the race. They've had, again, this engine management system, for some reason, just hasn't been playing the game at all this weekend. That's the problem they haven't had, to my knowledge, in the past, and in the few races they've done in the American Le Mans Series. It's been a constant bugbear all week here, and that car has officially been retired.
Well, that's a bit disappointing for the men from Coventry. I was just about to say Browns Lane, but of course that's just a site now rather than a factory. Men from Coventry who have come down for the weekend to watch the Jaguar here. Not an official presence, but hello to Mike Mulholland and all the others who are down here. Met them, and they were already 2 1664s into the morning at midday, so I think they're going to enjoy their weekend no matter what. Going to get down to the pit lane and catch up with Emmanuel Collard in just a second.
Comment ça va?
How you doing? Pretty good. Battling at the front of the category. Everything started pretty well. Ferrari's looking quite hard to race against at the moment.
Le but c'est de rester à ce niveau-là ou de
the goal to stay right there at the front as long as you can. At the moment, yeah, absolutely.
En espérant que la Ferrari aille pas de mieux en mieux aussi, on verra.
He said we can stay in front if we can, but at the moment the Ferrari seems to be getting better and better as the race goes on.
Rapide que les LMP1 et LMP2, donc j'imagine c'est pas très simple.
They said, how are you dealing with the cars a little bit quicker, the P1 and P2 cars? Is it simple? Is that a little bit difficult because they're quite a lot quicker than us, even more now in GT2. In general, you have to spend a lot of time watching the mirrors. Really got to pay attention.
Bonne chance.
Okay, so he should be getting back getting in about a quarter of an hour. And of course, Manu Carr, for many years, a Porsche stalwart, and therefore finds himself very much at home here in this GT2 category, just with the engine in front. So, Stuart, I would imagine an awful lot of relearning to do, not in terms of necessarily getting the most out of the car when things are going well, but in the way that drivers catch cars when they're not going well. You don't want to accidentally think you're in a Porsche and hoof it, when in fact you need to be doing something very different in a big front engine car.
Yeah, not only that, the Porsche is a GT car, but Manu Collard has been driving the factory Pescarolo for the last few years, and that is a complete different kettle of fish. In that, he's used to catching cars and passing them. In the Corvette, he's used to watching cars in his mirrors. So, you know, for a professional driver such as Collard, you're supposed to jump in and out of cars, a quick car, a slow car. You have to deal with traffic in different ways. That's part and parcel of being the pro, and only teams like Corvette sign the best up. He's one of them.
He is indeed, hasn't he? He's won the GT class here before, has Manu Collard, back in 03. Of course, he also won the LMP2 class last year in the S6 Porsche RS Spider. So, you know, yet another different car under his belt. He's driven an awful lot of cars over his career, hasn't he, Collard? And he's as you said, a thorough professional and doing an extremely good job as ever this weekend.
And a great addition to what is always a sort of you know, obviously the Pratt & Miller guys and the GM Goodwrench Corvettes, very much America's sports car, and they do have a strong American presence on their driver lineup. But it is a very multinational team. Always has been. You know, the drivers they've got Ollie Gavin, a Brit. They've got Olivier Beretta, a Frenchman, basically, although he is actually a Monegasque. You know, he's got the very French, you know, ambiance around him. You've got Dane Jan Magnussen. You've got a genuine Frenchman now in Manu Collard. That's 4 of the 6 drivers. Hang on a minute, where are them Americans? Well, you've got Johnny O at least. So, you know, he's holding the flag up as well for them. And who's the other one? Antonio Garcia. Well, Spanish, yeah. So 6 drivers, 1 American driver. Now, obviously, Ron Fellows was always a stalwart, but he's now a little bit more. Yeah, well, there you go, exactly. But North American is at least the right side of the Atlantic. But again, they hire the best. They don't look at the passport, they look at the results.
Yeah, it's a world brand, and as you say, they hire the best they can get a hold of. Down in the pit lane here is the AF Corsa car. It was Tony Vilander, I think, at the wheel.
It was, yes.
And we believe it's handed over to Giancarlo Fisichella.
That's what it's telling us.
Yeah, that's definitely Fisichella's helmet getting in there. So his first stint as a GT2 driver at Le Mans in race conditions.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, as we said before, Jean Alesi has been here before, although he professes to recall nothing about it, which might be the Formula 1 years that intervened, wiping his memory of anything. Last lap? Oh, not last lap. But yes, genuine Le Mans virgin, really, there. Giancarlo Fisichella, all the years, all the miles he's done in racing, and he's now entering a very different arena for the first time. Blue flags waving below the crest of the road as the Audi comes whistling through.
Shot.
Yeah, so there are some great camera angles here. No matter how many photos you see, again, when you see it every year, you are reminded that Le Mans is such a different environment. You know, the shots through the trees, you don't get that at too many other tracks. The lines in the middle of the road, the public highway, really gives a very different look to the track for the drivers as well. And Stuart, I mean, that must be part of it when you go out for the first time in free practice. Inevitably, as a rookie, you probably end up going out sort of late in the afternoon or into the evening. It must really be quite a different experience to start off here for the first time.
It's a completely different experience to anywhere you go. As we see Jean Todt walking down the pit lane, having a look at Le Mans, president of the FIA.
I'm liking him in a boiler suit. It's a very 1950s mechanic look, isn't it?
So even Jean Todt has to wear the right attire to walk down the pit lane. Such is the rules and regulations at Le Mans.
Yeah, you normally don't keep your back to the cars that are coming down the pit lane, do you? Somebody may be short to tone that one, but...
Well, obviously he's never walked up and down the pit lane for 24 hours like some of us have. He's obviously just sat on a perch watching his cars dominate and organising things from the pit wall. But I mean, back in the old days, and again, you know, this is all part of the safety. Back in the old days, of course, Peugeot were prone to setting light to things at fairly regular intervals. I was at very, very close proximity to both of their fuel fires in the pits during my regular Le Mans days, and yeah, when things go woof, you move really, really fast, because in those days, shorts was about as fireproof as we got.
It is amazing how fast you can move, isn't it, when you have to?
Oh, my word, yes.
The Team Bruichladdich, Ginetta Zytek just making a scheduled pit stop down there. That car, we saw, if you were with us during the warm-up, had a bit of an incident out on course, and there was some quite extensive left front suspension damage, which they did fix, of course, during the break before the race, and it was looking absolutely perfect when the car went out. So new front bodywork and new left front suspension, and it looks like a pretty routine stop down there on the pit lane. Meanwhile, here is the... Is this a battle now?
No, we were just watching Manuel Pirot trying to wriggle his way back in for past the Kiefel ASM car. Okay. So Pirot is currently posted 24th on timing and scoring, and the Kiefel AFM car with still Warren Hughes is third in the P2 class, and he's completed 48 laps to Manuel Pirot's 46 laps. So that Drayson car did lose 2 laps with whatever ailed it early on as Pierre Bruneau's car heads back out, and Warren Hughes were battling hard in this category. The Oak Racing Pescarolo Judd behind. Mathieu Lahaye, the timing and scoring screen don't show that. It may not do at home either, but Lahaye, well, there are 2 identical Oak Racing cars, the ones with the day glow pink on the front splitter there. The team manager put that on personally for me the other day when I asked him nicely. He said, oh yes, that is on our list. I said, please, before the next time you go out. But they've got 2 different cars, one with quick young guys in and one with the gentleman drivers that normally share. They I think, very wisely have decided to separate fish from fowl and let the young guys really have a run at the class lead.
That's right, because there's some yellow flags over there. But generally,
it's a warn of an approaching president, I think.
Yeah. In the Le Mans series, generally speaking, in the LMP2 class, it's a Pro-Am category this year.
Now then, that is the WR Zytek of the Cellini. Is it brothers or Père et Fils?
Brothers.
So
Philip Cellini, is that?
Yeah, where are they? 37. I may have to go on to the illegible screen 3. No, they're 39th at the moment, having completed 44 laps to leaders 54. Popping in near there to see Vanina. She's been busy this weekend with lots of FIA potentates coming to see her. She had Michel Mouton visit her on Thursday, and the president makes certain he goes and sees her. She was clearly getting the earplugs in, so she will be ready to take over the 008 Lola Aston, which currently lies in 10th place in the hands of Frank Meyer. There it is. Olivier, the director, are you listening to me again?
And the WR, for some reason, didn't come into the pit lane.
Well, it hasn't got here yet.
Yeah, it did, yes.
Oh, no, it went
just
past.
crawled
yes,
past the pits on the racetrack.
Yeah, so it did, yes. Clearly disorientated a little, Stuart, which is not a good thing.
No, but interesting enough, we're actually seeing a battle on the road for 10th place now. Christian Albers in the Collers Audi is closing in on Frank Maillard at a rate of knots. And hopefully that's going to start getting very interesting very soon. So Vanina Hicks might have some work on our hands when she gets out there.
Well, and just ahead of those two is Guy Smith in the number 13 Rebellion Racing Lola Judd rebellion, whatever you want to call it, that car it's certainly it's down on straight line speed in compared to the low Aston Martin, certainly. But Guy Smith, having had very few laps this weekend, had all sorts of problems. Jean-Christophe Bouillard threw the car off the road a couple of days ago. They've had to actually repair the tub on that car.
On both the Rebellion
On both Rebellions, indeed. But they managed to scratch their way up to third place, or third among the petrol engine cars here in the LMP1 class. So hats off.
Yes, as they would say, it's third place in the petrol class, because there is very definitely two different categories here. One for them as Rattles and one as them as Dussons. Yes, exactly. One for the fuel burners, one for the oil burners. And there you can see, yes, that is the gap. And they've both had 4 pit stops, so I'm not sure who owes this one first, but they may end up racing down pit road. In fact, the Lola has spent 5 minutes 47 stationary, and the Audi 4 minutes 20, so they've lost a minute and a half in terms of longer stops as we look at the spike.
The reason for that would be that's idiotic safety car period where they close the pits and you have to wait.
That's right. He had to sit and wait for a minute and a half while not a marshal, a judge of fact, second only in authority to the clerk of the course, who should know the rules, stood there and patently did not know the rules that even I knew. I mean, you and I, Jeremy, went and asked quite extensively of team managers what the safety car rules were exactly, how they would operate, because they've all changed. And if I know, honest to goodness, a judge of fact should at least have some faintest indication of having some knowledge of the rules.
Well, I might have had the same judge of fact last year.
Yes. Mini rant is over, just for a moment. Audi's 1 hour Audi's 1 hour press release arrives at 6:30. Safety car period splits front runners, and there's about 20 words after that, none of which say damn it, or damn it, but I think probably the subtext there is damn it. Stefan Sarrazin leads from Anthony Davidson, gap down at the end of the last lap, Stuart, to 1.055 seconds.
Yep.
Game on.
Davidson really has got the bit between his teeth, and I think all the British fans out there will be really looking forward to him having a ding-dong battle with Sarrazin. I know us up here really want to see that car get into the lead.
Yeah, he's just been creeping closer and closer, Sarrazin Davidson. String of fast laps there, 3 minutes 22 last time around compared to Stefan Sarrazin's 3:25, and to go 3 seconds quicker than Stefan Sarrazin. I'm sure there must have been some traffic involved, most likely, but Sarrazin, as we know, he is no slouch, having won up until this year 3 poles in a row. Here we are, on board with the Audis. The Audi. They're still what, a minute or so, a minute and a half out behind the Peugeots, but pretty much not losing too much ground.
No, but they absolutely haven't been able to close the gap whatsoever, as we would expect, because they have not been faster at all throughout the week up to now.
Jean, vous êtes 5e pour l'instant dans votre catégorie.
John Lacey, you're 5th in class at the moment. How's it going? Yeah, we're using a strategy of fuel consumption at the moment. We're doing 1 or 2 laps more than the others at the moment, I think he's saying.
Des 24 heures à voir, si ce n'est un arrêt, voire 2 arrêts de moins. Donc ça joue vraiment.
We're looking towards the full 24 hours to try and make sure we get there to the finish first.
Hier, oui, on a eu un problème sur le thermostat.
We had a little problem with the thermostat.
C'est pas vraiment quelque chose de grave. Surtout c'est.
Nothing too much to worry about.
C'est arrivé hier, et donc bon, tout a été changé.
Anything could chance.
C'était sympa parce que bon, le tour de choc.
Great to be at the start. The little run across the road, and actually to start the race as well. When the race got underway, it was madness at the start.
Au milieu de copains, c'était pas vraiment un gros bateau. Moi, j'ai l'habitude de faire des courses de sprint.
Well, of course, I'm used to sprint races, so I was pretty okay with that.
Tout le monde respectait beaucoup son ordre de marche, et c'était assez calme.
Seemed to get a lot of respect from all the others, so passed off without too much drama. Well, Stuart, it certainly did look a little bit like an overgrown Formula Ford race in the opening hour, but I mean, that's what we're used to at Le Mans. And from your driver's point of view, it must be quite difficult to watch your car in a wheel-to-wheel dice for lap after lap when you know, A, you're not in it yet and you'd actually like a go if they wouldn't mind, and B, it's not 24 minutes, it is 24 hours.
It is. It's very difficult, and especially when you're sat there and someone else is out there doing the business, but you really just have to trust your teammate. That's what this part of racing is all about. It's a team game.
So at the moment, Team Peugeot leads from Team Audi, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6 here at Le Mans. We'll be back in just a second.